Chapter 235. Han Fei and the nine-tailed mantis shrimp rushed out one after the other. Xiao He was always the most worrisome. Whenever there was a fight, it would always be the first to step in. Fortunately, no one could see it. Anyone who could see it would be the first to get rid of it. As soon as Han Fei came out, he saw a big black centipede nearly 20 meters long crawling on the deck, and Little Black was on the centipede's head, opening his mouth wide as if he was about to bite it. Little Black clang. Han Fei was speechless, only to see sparks flashing on the centipede's head, which made Han Fei shiver. How strong was Little Black's bite force! It could eat mines, metals, and so on. But when it bit on the head of this big centipede, it only made sparks. It could be seen how hard this centipede's carapace was. In his eyes, data about the big centipede emerged. Spirit-absorbing centipede, a centipede that had been sealed for a long time. Because it had been sealed in darkness for a long time, it was extremely short of spiritual energy. After a long time, it had mutated into a spirit-absorbing centipede, which could absorb free spiritual energy independently and absorb the enemy's spiritual energy with each attack. Nurtures spirit-absorbing bead, which can enhance aphaxia cultivation and affinity with spiritual energy. 37 exotic, ultra quality. 448 points inedible spirit-absorbing bead. Han Fei was speechless. Level 37? Not only was it 8 levels higher than him, but it was also an exotic creature, a very special monster with the word ultra quality. Swish, swish. The nine-tailed mantis shrimp rushed to the front of the big centipede. But how big was the nine-tailed mantis shrimp? How big was the spirit-absorbing centipede? Damn it, nine-tailed mantis shrimp, come back! Since the last time he fought with the purple-tailed scorpion king, he hadn't fought a second advanced creature. This spirit-absorbing centipede didn't look ordinary. Could the nine-tailed mantis shrimp beat it? The nine-tailed mantis shrimp twisted his butt and pounced on it. Because the centipede didn't find Little Black, it was furious when it saw the nine-tailed mantis shrimp, which was much smaller than itself. How dare such a small creature attack me? Boom! Boom! At the moment when the two tentacles were about to approach, the nine-tailed mantis shrimp struck out with his hammers. At the moment of the attack, Han Fei could barely see the afterimage of Shrimp Mantis Shrimp. With two loud bangs, the centipede's nearly 20-meter-long body was directly hammered. It was probably confused as well. What the hell was this? I haven't even done anything yet, and I've already taken 2 punches? Han Fei couldn't help but take a deep breath. The hard armor-like carapace was hammered into 2 pieces by the nine-tailed mantis shrimp. And the nine-tailed mantis shrimp took the opportunity to chase after him and punched him again. The centipede was stunned. It had never encountered such a tough thing. It immediately swung its nearly 20-meter-long body and seemed to want to entangle the nine-tailed mantis shrimp. Swish! At the same time, flames burst out and countless centipede claws rubbed the shell of the nine-tailed mantis shrimp, which made Han Fei's heart skip a beat. Dang dang! Not only could the nine-tailed mantis shrimp beat the enemy, but the top of its forelimbs were actually hooks. The nine-tailed mantis shrimp seemed to have turned into a praying mantis, and its 2 claws directly stabbed into the centipede. At the same time, its 7 tails were like 7 long whips, lashing the centipede fiercely. However, Han Fei's face immediately changed. The spiritual energy of the nine-tailed mantis shrimp was weakening? He immediately took out the blue sea wandering dragon daggers and instantly stabbed at the centipede. Unexpectedly, the spirit-absorbing centipede's defense seemed to be stronger than he had imagined. The blue sea wandering dragon daggers just cut its carapace and did not penetrate it. At this moment, the centipede was also furious and let go of the nine-tailed mantis shrimp. The moment the nine-tailed mantis shrimp was released, it immediately ran to Han Fei. Han Fei saw that its body was full of scratches, and 2 of its shells were broken. His face immediately became ugly. The defense of the nine-tailed mantis shrimp was not as good as that of this centipede? Yes, the gap in level was almost insurmountable. Looking at the nine-tailed mantis shrimp's big round eyes, it seemed to be sad? Han Fei was stunned. Did he see it wrong? The next moment, the nine-tailed mantis shrimp hugged his thigh, and its body trembled. Are you crying? Han Fei was speechless and kicked it. Ck off. Don't you have the nerve to cry? You can't beat me, so you run back and cry. Look at you. Attach. Han Fei chose to attach at once. After attaching, his strength was raised to the level of a peak-level great fishing master. At this time, coupled with the blue sea wandering dragon daggers, he might be able to fight. Of course, the blue sea wandering dragon daggers could be controlled remotely. Han Fei held the water-stirring seal in his hand, ready to smash the centipede to death. Crack! Crack! The spirit-absorbing centipede ran very fast. Countless claws directly tore the deck and rushed at Han Fei frantically, while its mouth opened and closed. Han Fei looked at the huge body that surrounded him and thought, how can I let you succeed? Bam! The water-stirring seal turned into a huge phantom, smashing directly at the dense centipede legs. The deck was directly smashed through, and the hull of the ship let out a creaking sound. For a time, Han Fei and the centipede bombarded each other in the darkness. In just a moment, the entire deck area of hundreds of square meters was directly crushed into pieces of wood. Han Fei overestimated himself. Being hit by the centipede, he felt that his intestines were about to fall out. Before Han Fei could get angry, he saw more than one set of white bones in a corner under the deck. He was shocked. Why are these corpses lying there? Little Gold, come out. With a thought from Han Fei, the Feather God Ray appeared. Seeing Han Fei fighting, the Feather God Ray glared at the centipede and smashed its head at the centipede that was crawling over quickly. The centipede was a little stunned. The opponent's head is a bit hard. It seems that it can't beat it. The centipede seemed to be wondering whether to run away. First, a damn boxer, and now a stubborn guy. Why is it so lively today? Swish! Swish! Little Gold's two wings instantly swept across the centipede's claws. In Han Fei's shocked gaze, the extremely sharp centipede claws were cut off by Little Gold's wings. Wow! Is this the power of a legendary creature? It's too strong. Little Gold is only level 28. Seeing this, the centipede immediately tried to escape. Han Fei said, Little Gold, hit it. Don't let it go. At this point, how could he let it go? In order to find fusion materials for the nine-tailed mantis shrimp, Han Fei had killed countless rare creatures. Its eighth tail hadn't grown out yet. Now, such an ultra-quality exotic creature was here. How could he let it go? Squeak! Little Gold spread its wings and rushed over like a bird. Han Fei thought it was going to bite with its mouth, but to his surprise, Little Gold hit it directly with its head. Bam! The cabin was penetrated again. The head of the centipede was dented and a wound ruptured, making it roll in the sawdust in pain. And Little Black, who had been watching from the side, took the opportunity to drill into the wound and began to bite crazily. Han Fei felt his blood freeze. You'd better pray for yourself to meet a foodie like Little Black. Han Fei said, Little Black, don't kill it. Han Fei released the fusion state with the nine-tailed mantis shrimp. Seeing this, the latter rushed up again. Thud! Thud! At this moment, the nine-tailed mantis shrimp was awe-inspiring. How dare you bully me just now? The nine-tailed mantis shrimp hammered the centipede so hard that it almost began to doubt its life. Han Fei shook his head and looked at this scene. Oh, what's so great about level 37? 2 legendary creatures, 1 mysterious creature, 3 big bosses ganged up on you. You win if you can hold on. After a while, Han Fei forcibly took back Little Black and then took the nine-tailed mantis shrimp and Little Gold away. Looking at the dying centipede, he smiled brightly. Collect the demon. Without encountering any resistance, the dying centipede was easily collected by Han Fei. Han Fei kicked the nine-tailed mantis shrimp. You can absorb this level of creature. If you can't grow a tail later, I will chop off your other tails. At this moment, Han Fei searched in the ruins for a long time before he found the 3 corpses. Han Fei's face changed slightly. The bones of the 3 corpses were black and some were broken. It should be at the last moment that they knew they were going to die and didn't want to become the centipede's food, so they retreated here. There were only a few swords left beside the 3 of them, and they were all broken. Among them, half of a sword was inserted in the chest of one of the corpses. Han Fei raised his eyebrows. Did they kill their own people? Shaking his head, Han Fei noticed that the hand of the person who was killed was still covering his stomach. Under the broken clothes, there seemed to be a piece of fish skin. He opened the fish skin and saw a few big words written on it. There is a traitor. The sea-quelling painting is in the boneyard. Mobile phone station. Chapter 236. Han Fei frowned. Wasn't the sea-quelling painting in that box? Could it be that the box was empty? Forget it, I'd better find out how to unlock the seal first. The huge hull was now in a mess. It was not that the ship was not good. On the contrary, the quality of the ship should be quite good, but no matter how good it was, it couldn't withstand the daily devouring of the centipede. After collecting the centipede, Han Fei began to search inside the whole ship until he found a huge hole at the bottom of the ship. There was no seal here, so he could go down directly. Han Fei was not afraid. Before going down, he hooked the hull with a fish hook. If there was any danger below, he would come out first. When Han Fei fell to the bottom of the hole, he only felt a tingling sensation on his scalp. He saw a huge centipede, twice the size of the one outside. Hiss! Shit! Han Fei was about to escape, but he found that there was a sword stuck in the head of this centipede, a big sword nearly 1 meter wide and 7 or 8 meters long. Huh! Spirit-absorbing centipede, sealed state. A centipede that had been sealed for a long time, 44 exotic, ultra quality. 886 points inedible spirit-absorbing bead, sealed state? Han Fei gave up the plan of escaping. So the sword stuck in the head of this centipede was used to seal it? When Han Fei fell, he saw this centipede was moving, but no matter how it moved, its head couldn't move at all. Han Fei boldly landed on the head of this centipede, and immediately felt the spiritual energy in his body escaping out. Bam! 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 Han Fei kicked it hard. Do you want to die? You're nailed and you still want to absorb my spiritual energy? Han Fei took out the blue sea wandering dragon daggers and hit it with all his strength, but to his surprise, he couldn't see through this guy's shell and only left a shallow white mark on it. Han Fei's heart skipped a beat. This sword must not be pulled out. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to beat this thing. Immediately, Han Fei summoned the 9-tailed mantis shrimp and little gold. Han Fei ordered, "Smash his head." Needless to say, the 9-tailed mantis shrimp had already hit the head of the centipede twice with his hammer, but this time, the centipede's carapace didn't even dent. The 9-tailed mantis shrimp looked at Han Fei in confusion, and Han Fei kicked it away. It's useless. Do you know the gap between you and him now? Han Fei looked at Little Gold, who was slashing the centipede's head with its 2 wings. Seeing that it didn't work, Han Fei couldn't help but say, "Don't cut the head. Try cutting the joint." After a while, Han Fei and the 2 contractual spiritual beasts stared at each other. They couldn't break the defense. This was the first time that such a huge sea monster was lying under his feet, and he couldn't break its defense. Motherf *****. Is level 40 really that powerful? If Jiang Qin was here, she could definitely beat this big centipede to death, but he was not Jiang Qin. How could Little Black eat it without the strength of a hanging fisher? Han Fei was embarrassed. This thing was the real centipede demon. It seemed that he could only summon the Calabash brothers. Then Han Fei sat on the head of the big centipede. "Calabash, try harder. Suck it to death." The spiritual energy in Han Fei's body was overflowing, and the demon purification pot was also sucking the spiritual energy out of the big centipede's body. After half an hour, Han Fei felt that he had made a profit. No matter what kind of centipede you are, you can't suck more spiritual energy than my calabash. An hour later, the centipede stopped struggling and its huge body lay on the ground. Han Fei sat on its head, grabbed its 2 tentacles in his hand, and said to it via voice transmission, "Big centipede, just give up. Die early and you will be a good centipede 18 years later." But this centipede couldn't speak in response. Every time Han Fei sent a voice transmission, it would shake symbolically, trying to shake Han Fei off. Han Fei smiled. "Don't struggle. All resistance is just a paper tiger. Your son is already dead. If you die early, you may be able to keep it company." Then he put the 9-tailed mantis shrimp into the calabash. "I don't want a centipede as a contractual spiritual beast. It looks scary. I'd better upgrade the 9-tailed mantis shrimp first. The spirit-absorbing centipede's level is so high that it may grow a 9th tail in the future." After about half an hour, the fusion was completed. When 9 tails came out again, the wounds on its body were all gone and another tail grew out. Han Fei was overjoyed. 8 tails? So annoying. He had fused so many rare creatures for this guy before, but it was useless. This time, he fused an exotic ultra-quality creature and only managed to grow the 8th tail. Han Fei observed that after 9 tails fused with the centipede, its level had soared and it had reached level 28. Haha. What if 9 tails fuses with the big centipede under his feet? 9 tails will definitely grow out. At that time, will 9 tails reach the peak of its shrimp life? 2 hours later, the centipede was still holding on. 2 hours later, this guy was still alive. Under the mutual absorption of spiritual energy, it still had more than 1,000 points left. 2.5 hours later, when Han Fei saw that the big centipede still had 100 points of spiritual energy left, he said to it, "Big centipede, surrender? Go and reunite with your son." Bam! The big centipede bounced and seemed to be making a final struggle. Han Fei slashed its head with a knife. "Don't be so shameless. Without spiritual energy you will starve to death." Han Fei found something wrong. Although the spiritual energy of this big centipede was almost absorbed, it was still very powerful. It was different from the previous time when Han Fei used the calabash to absorb spiritual energy. But this big centipede didn't seem to die so quickly after its spiritual energy was absorbed. It seemed that it could still struggle. Wasn't the dragon eel he encountered powerful enough? It was still sucked dry by the demon purification pot. But this level 44 big centipede was different. It was full of vitality. Han Fei was unhappy. Absorb it all. A few minutes later, the big centipede had no spiritual energy at all. It lay dead and refused to move, but it didn't die. Han Fei said, "I'll give you one last chance. Do you surrender? If you don't, I'll starve you to death." In the end, the big centipede was collected by the demon purification pot. It couldn't move. The giant centipede was probably feeling very aggrieved. If it could move, it could kill it with one claw. Han Fei wanted to laugh. What's the use of having a hard shell? In the end, you still ended up being collected by the demon purification pot. As soon as the big centipede disappeared, the whole shipwreck began to shake. Han Fei's heart tightened. He quickly took back the 9-tailed mantis shrimp and little gold, and then carried the big sword 7 or 8 meters long and began to swim out. Hey! It's much lighter than a stick. As soon as Han Fei swam out of the hole, he saw Jiang Qin's figure suddenly appear in the dust. Jiang Qin looked at the huge sword on Han Fei's back and then looked around. "Is this a ship?" Han Fei nodded. "Let's go out first. I've searched the ship and found the information." Jiang Qin nodded and grabbed Han Fei. She punched the air, and all the dust within a kilometer was blown away by this punch. In a few seconds, Han Fei was carried to the surface of the sea. On the fishing boat, Han Fei gasped. Sister Qin, this sword is a seal, but it's too big. Can it be smaller? Jiang Qin stared at Han Fei with bright eyes. Yes, it's a spiritual weapon with a sealed spirit. Just refine it. This was the first time Han Fei had played with a sword. After a while, the huge sword 7 or 8 meters long became a normal 3-foot-long sword, which was very light in his hand. But before Han Fei played with it, he saw Jiang Qin's scorching eyes. Han Fei smiled awkwardly. Sister Qin, do you know the sea-quelling painting? When Han Fei said the words, sea-quelling painting, Jiang Qin's body suddenly trembled and her face turned a little red. Did you find information about the sea-quelling painting below? Cell phone site. Chapter 237. Han Fei took a breath. There must be a big secret in this sea-quelling painting. Is it an unparalleled super treasure? Han Fei took out the box with the words, sea-quelling painting written on it, and Jiang Qin's eyes almost popped out. Han Fei hurriedly said, Sister Qin, don't get excited. See if there's anything in this box. Jiang Qin nodded and took the box. Spiritual energy surged in her hands, and the array on the box glowed with a strange light. After a while, the box was opened with a bang. But as Han Fei expected, the box was empty. Jiang Qin breathed a sigh of relief and murmured, I thought too much. Why is the sea-quelling painting in this place? She calmed down and said, if there is really a sea-quelling painting, the heavenly water village would have been trampled over by countless strong masters. Han Fei took a breath and said, Sister Qin, take a look at this. Then Han Fei took out the fish skin. When Jiang Qin saw the content on the fish skin, she suddenly stood up with a gloomy face. Han Fei asked curiously, Sister Qin, it says that the sea-quelling painting is in the boneyard. Where is the boneyard? In the 3rd level fishery? The level 3 fishery? Jiang Qin's face changed, and after a long time she said, no, in the 3rd level fishery. Outside the level 3 fishery. Han Fei said in surprise, the unknown place? Jiang Qin nodded slightly, put away the fish skin, and said indifferently, go back. Han Fei silently controlled the fishing boat to fly back to the heavenly water village, and Jiang Qin stood on the deck, clenching her hands into fists. Han Fei could see that she was very emotional. After a long time, Jiang Qin said, what did you encounter down there? When I arrived, there seemed to be traces of a fierce battle down there. Han Fei nodded. Oh, I encountered a big centipede that could absorb spiritual energy. It fought all the way from the boat to the bottom of the boat and then into a hole. Then I found this sword, pulled it out, and then you came. Jiang Qin nodded slightly. Spirit-absorbing centipede, you are not lucky. That thing's defense power is amazing, but its attack means are not strong. Now that the seal has been broken, it should run to the level 2 fishery. Don't worry about it. Han Fei didn't speak. If I told you, you would be scared to death. The one you mentioned has now become the tail of the 9-tailed mantis shrimp. Jiang Qin looked back at Han Fei. Have you become an advanced great fishing master? Han Fei's eyes widened. I found some stones with a lot of spiritual energy in them, so I casually took some of them. After cultivating for a while, I broke through. Jiang Qin. When Jiang Qin saw the stone in Han Fei's hand, she couldn't help frowning. A low-quality spiritual stone. With the spirit-absorbing centipede, why hasn't this low-quality spiritual stone been sucked dry? I found it inside a strange box. Han Fei didn't feel guilty at all. Should he say that he could also absorb and store spiritual energy? Jiang Qin didn't take it seriously. She tried to calm herself down and said seriously, don't mention the sea-quelling painting to anyone. Remember, anyone, including the students and teachers of the 4th Academy, okay? Han Fei scratched his head. Sister Qin, what is this sea-quelling painting? You don't have to know. I thought they just went to explore a certain secret realm and were trapped in it. But now I find that I was wrong. They actually went to find this sea-quelling painting. Han Fei, even if you have a chance to go to the unknown place in the future, don't try it. Han Fei was confused. It seemed to be a big deal, but he didn't understand. He looked confused and didn't feel anything. Then Jiang Qin said to Han Fei, I won't ask you to help me find him in the future. This matter is more complicated than I thought. Han Fei blinked and said, Sister Qin, are you going to this boneyard by yourself? Jiang Qin didn't speak but said, You don't have to worry about it. It's enough for you to rest in the Heavenly Water Village for a few days. Go back to school early. As far as I know, your comprehensive strength is far from enough. Don't think you are invincible just because you have been to the level 2 fishery. You haven't been to the level 3 fishery. Han Fei blinked again. Is she driving me away? After returning to the Heavenly Water Village, Han Fei happened to see He Xiaoyu, Wang Baiyu, and Xiao Wushuang preparing to go to sea. He Xiaoyu saw Han Fei from a distance and hurriedly shouted, Han Fei. Han Fei also saw them, but he didn't have the time to talk to them now. The matter of the sea-quelling painting was definitely a very serious matter. Damn old Jiang, there must be a lot of things that he hasn't taught me yet. I don't want Jiang Qin and old Jiang to be gone as soon as I look back. Han Fei just waved at them and said, I still have something to do. Go ahead. I'll play with you later. Then he hurriedly followed Jiang Qin to the plantation. The smile on He Xiaoyu's face disappeared and her hands drooped. She snorted. Asshole, you didn't even come to say hello to me. Wang Baiyu frowned. Han Fei seems to be in a hurry. Something must have happened? Let's come back in 2 days and have a meal with him. This was just a small trick and Han Fei didn't take it seriously at all. In the plantation, as soon as Jiang Qin came back, she threw the fish skin on old Jiang. Old Jiang picked up the fish skin map in confusion, and then his lazy face changed. Old Jiang narrowed his eyes and looked at Han Fei. You found it? What else did you find? Han Fei spread his hands. Nothing. Oh, there are 3 corpses, but they have all become bones, so I didn't bring them back. Jiang Qin glared at Han Fei. Why didn't you say so earlier? Han Fei was helpless. You didn't ask. Old Jiang waved his hand. Forget it. It's impossible. I just don't know whether it is in the boneyard or... Forget it, Han Fei, go and make some dishes for me tonight, and make more dumplings from a few days ago. Han Fei blinked. Grandpa, why do I feel that you are going to slip away? Old Jiang snorted. Slip away? Where can I go? I just want to have a big meal. Han Fei was skeptical. Okay, do you still want to make a hot pot? Old Jiang nodded. Of course. And drunken shrimp. In the evening, Han Fei made 8 dishes and a large basin of dumplings for the first time. In fact, for a cultivator, these things could be eaten up. As long as Han Fei wanted to, he could quickly digest them and then continue to eat. But eating was about feeling. If he kept eating, he would lose the feeling. But tonight was different. Old Jiang said, Han Fei, have a drink with me. Han Fei said in surprise, Are you willing to share your wine with me? Old Jiang laughed and scolded, I know how you make wine. Do you think I will be afraid that you will drink it all? Jiang Qin only ate for a while and then went back to the house, so only old Jiang and Han Fei were left at the table, drinking from time to time. After a while, Han Fei asked, Grandpa, do you have any particularly powerful spirit-gatherer combat skills that you haven't taught me? Let me tell you, I learned healing techniques in school. You didn't teach me anything. Burp, old Jiang burped and said lazily, No, I don't know any combat skills or methods. Spirit-gatherers mainly depend on how you use them. When you are familiar with them, you will naturally learn them. Han Fei didn't believe him. He couldn't tell the truth from the old man's mouth. In the end, a table of dishes and a large pot of hot pot were eaten up by the 2 of them. The more Han Fei ate, the more confused he became. The alcohol was too strong. The next day, Han Fei stretched out, yawned, and got up from the bed, muttering, Grandpa, I can't drink like this next time. I'm still young and growing. Han Fei rubbed his eyes and walked out of the door, only to find that the old man was not lying on the recliner, and the table outside the house was still a mess, and no one cleaned it up. "Grandpa! Sister Chin?" Han Fei shouted and immediately shook the smell of alcohol out of his body with spiritual energy. Then he quickly walked around the house and found no one inside. The point was that the vinegar tank next to him was gone, which made Han Fei speechless. When Han Fei found a piece of broken fish skin and a jade slip on the messy table, he immediately cursed. "Bastard, old bastard, didn't you say you wouldn't leave? You're too much shameless." Cell phone site. Chapter 238. Han Fei was not in a hurry to clean up the table, nor did he want to. Han Fei took the fish skin and the jade slip to the recliner where old Jiang often slept. He opened the fish skin and saw what was written on it. "Brat, I've already left after reading this letter. I'll leave this damn garden to you. I have to say, although you are not as good as me, you do have a little bit of talent. You're quite like me when I was young. You should go further and further on the path of a spirit gatherer. By the way, don't practice as much as a soul warrior in the future. It's not good to be a soul warrior. Fighting has always been about who has the bigger fist, which has something to do with the price of a soul warrior. Fine, it's up to you whether you want to listen to me or not. But since you're my half-disciple, I'll give this jade slip to you. Also, go away and don't come to us." There were not many words left on the fish skin. Han Fei muttered, "You're quite proud, aren't you? I'm not even as good as you. Do you think I don't know that you're so good at bragging? I'm your half-disciple. What have you taught me, old man?" After reading it, Han Fei threw the fish skin aside and picked up the jade slip. As his spiritual energy surged, words appeared. "Spirit gathering scripture?" Han Fei blinked. "A book on arrays?" Han Fei sat up straight. He only knew one array now, which was the spirit gathering array. As the name suggested, it was to draw arrays with spiritual energy to attract the spiritual energy between heaven and earth. The effect was generally less than twice that of usual. But now, the old man had left him a book on arrays? This old man has been hiding this. Spirit gathering scripture? There seems to be something good. Han Fei quickly flipped through the spirit gathering scripture, but he was shocked as he skimmed through it. There were too many of them, all of which were various kinds of arrays. The more he read, the more he found that the level of the arrays had already involved the trapping of level 60 fish. Oh my, this old man has been hiding a lot. After flipping through the entire jade slip, Han Fei closed his eyes. Spirit Gathering Scripture. This book was a collection of ancient and modern formations. The author had collected and integrated a large number of common and exotic formations in the Thousand-Star City in the past 500 years and deduced them one by one. Han Fei opened his eyes and found something he couldn't deduce for the first time. Was this Spirit Gathering Scripture written by the old man himself? Han Fei gasped. "Old Jiang, you're good at arrays, but you only taught me the most basic spirit gathering array. That's too much." Above the clouds, on a gorgeous fishing boat, old Jiang was sipping wine. Jiang Qin, who was controlling the fishing boat, said, "Grandpa, you just left the spirit gathering scripture to Han Fei? Aren't you afraid that he can't learn it?" Old Jiang snorted. "That kid is very cunning. Since he saw such a magical thing as an array, he wouldn't let it go. Don't forget, when we first learned the spirit gathering array, this guy learned it in 9 days. Jiang Qin frowned. "But you're not good at arrays. The boundless alchemy scripture is your specialty. Grandpa, you're setting him up, aren't you?" Old Jiang snorted. "Do you think that kid can be patient enough to learn the boundless alchemy scripture? Now it's the busiest time for the Thug Academy. In the next few years, I'm afraid he won't have time to study the boundless alchemy scripture. It's better to give him the spirit gathering scripture, so that he can go further on the path of a spirit gatherer." Jiang Qin said lightly, "The spirit gathering scripture is not as simple as the boundless alchemy scripture. He learned the spirit gathering scripture for 9 days. After all, it's the simplest array. Old Jiang smacked his lips. I don't care. Just as Jiang Qin said, Han Fei didn't have a deep understanding of the spirit-gathering scripture at this moment, mainly because he saw all kinds of dense arrays on it, which were much more complicated than the spirit-gathering array, which made his head hurt. I'm flying in the sky and diving into the sea, hunting for treasures and exploring caves. Where do I get the time? After cleaning up the messy table, Han Fei inspected the plantation again. He found that half of the wheat he planted was gone, and almost all kinds of spiritual plants were gone. Han Fei shook his head with a smile. It seemed that the old man still liked to eat. Could he go to the unknown place to farm? This is a good way. When I go to the unknown place, I can go to the plantation first. Maybe I can find him there. After cleaning up the land, Han Fei called Li Qing and Li Gan over. The two of them were even more respectful to Han Fei now. In the past few days, their cultivation speed had increased rapidly. Li Qing, who was originally at the peak of level 9, directly broke through to a fishing master in the past 2 days. And Li Gan's strength had improved further, breaking through the bottleneck of an intermediate fishing master and becoming an advanced fishing master. Han Fei was lying on a recliner and basking in the sun at this moment. Seeing the two come in, he said, Hey, you've made a breakthrough. Li Qing nodded. Thank you for your reward, young master. Li Gan stammered, Do, Han Fei said. Okay, stop, Han Fei said leisurely. From now on, the plantation is under the protection of the fish dragons. Old Jiang and Jiang Qin have left the heavenly water village, so this plantation is now mine. This is now the most important place of the fish dragons. Whoever dares to mess around in the plantation, go to the Blue Sea town and tell me. I will come back to deal with him personally. Li Qing and Li Gan were shocked, but at the same time, they looked at Han Fei in astonishment. What? The plantation is yours, young master? Han Fei patted the chair. Hey! Did you hear me? This will be the most important place of the fish dragons in the future. Li Qing immediately said loudly, Yes, young master, no one can step into the plantation casually in the future. Han Fei nodded. Okay. Not bad. After I leave, you guys can come and guard it. I'll stay here for a few more days. Go. After sending Li Qing and Li Gan away, Han Fei got up from the chair, poked his head out of the plantation, and looked around. Seeing that it was empty, he ran to the martial arts arena in the plantation. It was time to turn Nine Tails into a real nine-tailed mantis shrimp. Fuse. The fate of the level 44 spirit-absorbing centipede was decided by Han Fei. Half an hour later, on the ground of the martial arts arena, Nine Tails swung its 9 tails wildly, which were locked to the ground like diamond chains, and this guy was having some kind of indescribable impact with the ground. With a black face, Han Fei stepped forward and kicked him. Behave yourself. You've just grown 9 tails. What are you showing off for? What did the ground do to you? 9 tails looked innocent and immediately drooped its tails, lying on the ground lifelessly, swinging its tails on the ground from time to time. Han Fei was also suspicious. The data had changed a lot. Contractual spiritual pets. 9-tailed mantis shrimp. Mutant mantis shrimp has fast speed and extremely strong attack ability, is good at hiding itself and sneak attacking prey. When it grows up to its complete form, its 9 tails will turn into 9 divine chains and its combat power will be extremely strong. 30 Legend 1872 points. Omnivore prefers shrimp. Current state. 9 tails. Han Fei was thinking about some questions. Can my contractual spiritual beasts surpass my own level? But my spiritual beasts can't. It was the same when Little Gold was fused a few days ago. At that time, he was still a level 26 intermediate great fishing master, but Little Gold was already level 28. Han Fei wasn't sure how many levels a contractual spiritual beast could surpass his own level. Han Fei tested it and found that 9 tails' defense power had become stronger, and the carapace on its body had become shiny and bright like oiled armor. After the attachment, his strength had also increased a lot. He tried it just now and suspected that he had almost stepped into the realm of a dangling fisher. Not only that, after this attachment, Han Fei felt that his fists were very powerful. He tried to punch, but because he was too fast and too fierce, he hammered a big hole in the ground. Wow! So I can also use the power of the nine-tailed mantis shrimp? Han Fei blinked. When he fought with Jiang Qin before, Jiang Qin's fists were as hard as black iron and couldn't be cut by swords and knives. It seemed that he could do the same now. Han Fei wondered if he should go back to school and get a couple of fist techniques to learn. It seemed that this could also be his trump card. Who knew that a spirit gatherer could fight like a soul warrior? Who knew that a soul warrior who used weapons was more powerful with his fists? Han Fei, at this moment, Han Fei heard someone calling him, hurriedly took back nine tails and ran out of the plantation. Cell phone site. Chapter 239. Han Fei walked out of the garden and saw He Xiaoyu, Xia Wushuang, and the others craning their heads to look into the plantation. Seeing Han Fei, He Xiaoyu quickly waved her hand. Han Fei smiled. Why are you standing at the door? Come in. I haven't eaten for a day. I'll make 2 dishes. Only 4 or 5 people came, He Xiaoyu, Xia Wushuang, Wang Baiyu, Xiang Nan, and Chen Qing. They had a good relationship with Han Fei and were the most familiar with each other in the village. He Xiaoyu asked warmly, Han Fei, where have you been these months? Han Fei paused and looked back. Where else? I went to the fishery. Han Fei didn't tell them which fishery he went to. He couldn't tell them that he went to the level 2 fishery while they were still playing in the level 1 fishery. Ever since he met He Xiaoyu last time, he knew that He Xiaoyu's goal was actually very simple. Take He Xiaoyu for example, she just wanted to be a great fishing master in this life to make up for her father's regret. Wang Baiyu, who had been trained by the family, wanted to bring glory to the family and become the best armorist of the Wang family. As for Xiang Nan and Chen Qing, to be honest, they were almost the same as He Xiaoyu. Chen Qing's talent was much worse than He Xiaoyu's. He should be happy if he became a great fishing master. But what about Han Fei? After entering the 4th academy, Xiao Zhan, Wenren Yu, and even Old Bai had been reminding him intentionally or unintentionally that being a dangling fisher was the real beginning of cultivation. And he and the others also felt that what they said was very reasonable and were working hard for the brocade sachets. Han Fei always felt that since he entered the 4th academy, he must go to the level 3 fishery. He must go to the level 3 fishery. He had to go to the unknown place, right? Han Fei suddenly didn't know how to get along with them. It was not that he was unfriendly, but that his goals in life were completely different. Of course, Han Fei greeted them with a smile. Come in and sit down. Feel free to eat anything in the field. Wang Baiyu said in surprise. No way. I heard that Master Jiang of the plantation doesn't like outsiders to disturb him. Han Fei waved his hand. The old man has left. Now this plantation is mine. I can treat you to some spiritual fruits. Anyway, you can't eat many. Left? He Xiaoyu said in surprise, but we saw it yesterday. He left early in the morning. The old man didn't know anyone else in the Heavenly Water Village, so he left it to me. Inviting everyone in, Han Fei picked up some fruits from the field, and with a wave of his hand, a basin of water appeared next to him. Please help yourselves. Don't stand on ceremony. Xia Wushuang was speechless. Han Fei, how can you spirit gatherers control water? Han Fei smiled. This is just a small trick, not worth mentioning, haha. Just you wait, I'll personally cook a few dishes for you. Ordinary people don't get such treatment. He Xiaoyu said quickly, let me help you. Han Fei asked suspiciously, can you do it? He Xiaoyu said, of course I can. Han Fei blinked and threw a plate right to the ground. Then why don't you clean it and dig out its guts? Xiaoyu was dumbfounded. So were Wang Baiyu and Xiao Wushuang. They had never seen this before. Is this a F** kingfish? A 5 or 6 meter long fish. The most important thing was not this, but where did Han Fei get this fish? Suddenly, Xiao Wushuang pointed at Han Fei in shock. A sea-swallowing seashell? You have a sea-swallowing seashell? Xiang Nan said in shock. F***ck. Han Fei, where did you get it? Wang Baiyu asked. I just want to ask, what kind of fish is this on the ground? Why does it look a bit like a ray? Han Fei was a little embarrassed and said with a smile, It's a sea-swallowing seashell. My teacher gave it to me. This is a ray, a level 2 fishery. Well, an ordinary fish. Everyone looked at Han Fei. Are you kidding me? Chen Qing said in disbelief. I'm not an educated person. Don't lie to me. Although we can't go to the level 2 fishery, this is definitely not an ordinary fish in the level 2 fishery. Lionfish, pearlfish, and yellow bonefish are the ordinary fish in the level 2 fishery. The books don't even say that there are rays in the level 2 fishery. Han Fei glared at him. Shut up. This is called a plate ray. Although it's rare, it can still be found in the level 2 fishery. Caught one by chance. Let's eat it. It'll be a waste if we don't eat it. Everyone was speechless. The word rare meant rare. Did you catch a rare fish in the level 2 fishery just to eat it? Xiaoyu pouted. You only know how to ask. Xiang Nan, come here and help me clean it up. Xiang Nan walked over with a sigh, but the fish was too big for him to clean, so he shrugged helplessly. You can't put the pot down, can you? Han Fei said, It's okay. I still have a big pot. Han Fei took out a big pot nearly 1 meter long from his sea-swallowing seashell. Usually, 8 people ate hot pot at school, and the pot was not big enough. Today there were 6 people, so it was enough for a meal. Everyone's eyes widened. Xiaoyu was speechless. This is a sea-swallowing seashell. It's such a precious treasure. Why did you put such a big pot in it? Everyone nodded. Look at what you put in your sea-swallowing seashell. Pot food? Are you really going out for an adventure? You're going out for hot pot, aren't you? Han Fei said calmly, Don't be so flustered. I'm starving if I don't have a meal. Xiang Nan, cut the flesh on both sides of the stingray. The flesh on that side moves a lot and is very tender. Xiang Nan. When Han Fei took out jellyfish, squid tentacles, and sea urchins from his sea-swallowing seashell, everyone was about to beat him up. They were very sure that this guy was not going out for an adventure at all, but to find food ingredients. Wang Baiyu said leisurely, This is a thorn nest sea urchin, a rare creature, everyone was used to it. Xiao Wushuang was speechless. Han Fei, you really stuffed your sea-swallowing seashell with food. Han Fei said, I want to stuff other treasures too. But I don't have any, so I can only stuff food. When the hot pot began to boil and 5 or 6 dishes were placed on the table, Han Fei also took out half a jar of wine. Don't ask why, the whole jar was gone. It was all taken away by old Jiang. Han Fei asked, Should we make some? Xiao Wushuang nodded. Yes. When the hot pot was opened, a burst of fragrance greeted their nostrils, and they almost drooled. Xiang Nan smacked his lip. Han Fei, do you usually eat this? Han Fei picked up a piece of fish and stuffed it into his mouth. No, do you think this is a yellow croaker? Just eat it if you want. We usually eat yellow croaker hot pot. It tastes the best. Xiaoyu picked up a piece of sushi and put it into her mouth, but her eyes narrowed. This is so delicious. Is this really sea urchin meat? Han Fei thought to himself, sea urchins don't have meat, but I don't want to tell you, because I'm afraid you'll spit it out. Chen Qing ate several pieces of fish in a row and his face turned red. He suddenly said, Wait a minute, there seems to be a lot of spiritual energy in this meat, and a lot of energy is pouring into my body. Wang Baiyu rolled his eyes. Of course, this is a rare fish in the level 2 fishery. If you caught it, Would you stew it as a hot pot ingredient? Everyone was speechless. That seemed to be the case. How many people in the heavenly water village would stew a plate ray after catching it? None, except Han Fei. For the sake of food, he would do anything, no matter how rare it was. Halfway through the meal, Han Fei was the only one eating. As for the others, Xiao Wushuang was the only one who struggled to put down his chopsticks and seemed to want to eat a few more pieces. Xiaoyu and the others had already sat on the ground and began to cultivate. The spiritual energy contained in the plate ray was not the key, but the fish that had been tempered with spiritual energy contained a lot of energy. This forced them to digest it. Otherwise, the spiritual energy in their bodies would riot. At that time, it would not be a great tonic but a great poison. Several hours later, Xiang Nan, Chen Qing, and Xiaoyu made breakthroughs one after another and became intermediate fishing masters. Wang Baiyu was originally an intermediate fishing master. Although he didn't make a breakthrough, his strength had improved a lot. Xiao Wushuang's potential was higher than Wang Baiyu's. He was the first one to get up. After getting up, he ran to the pot to fish, only to find that the fish was already gone. Han Fei said, "Don't fish. There's still more than half of it left. You guys take it back and eat it slowly." Xiao Wushuang asked, "You don't want to eat it?" Han Fei said, "I still have some." Xiao Wushuang, Cell Phone Website. Chapter 240. Han Fei saw Xiao Wushuang and the others off with a smile. He was not naughty at all and treated them like good friends. After all, his friends in the Heavenly Water Village were really good. Xiaoyu used to be one of them, and later he met Wang Baiyu and Xiao Wushuang. On the way back, Xiaoyu frowned and said, "Have you found that he is very polite now?" Xiang Nan took a deep look at Xiaoyu and didn't speak. Xiao Wushuang carried the plate ray and smacked his lip. "Do you want him to be rude to you?" Wang Baiyu shook his head slightly. "We're estranged. Although Han Fei tries to act the same as before, we're still estranged. Because we're at a different level. Do you really think it's easy to kill this plate ray? As far as I know, rays are gregarious fish. If you want to kill a ray, you have to face a group of rays first. This is the first reason. Secondly, I've never heard of rays in the level 2 fishery, but it's said that a few may occasionally run out of the undersea jungle, but only occasionally." Xiaoyu asked, "Where is the undersea jungle?" Wang Baiyu smiled bitterly. "A few days ago there was a big change in the stone forest, right? That's one of the 4 dangerous places. The undersea jungle ranks second, followed by the fiery mountain, the undersea jungle, the stone forest, and the piercing electricity zone." "Hiss!" Xiao Wushuang gasped. "Do you mean that Han Fei has been to the undersea jungle?" Wang Baiyu said, "I mean that Han Fei is growing too fast. When he was in the Blue Sea Town, the 5 students of the 4th Academy suppressed the other 3 academies, and then they disappeared. They've been gone for more than 2 months. Where have they been?" Chen Qing opened his mouth wide. "They've been in the level 2 fishery for more than 2 months?" At this time, even Xiaoyu's heart was in her mouth. The level 2 fishery was a dangerous place, and they stayed for more than 2 months? Wang Baiyu smiled bitterly. "That's why I said the gap between us is getting bigger and bigger. If they have already conquered the level 2 fishery, you can imagine where they will go next." Everyone said without thinking, "The level 3 fishery? The level 3 fishery?" Wang Baiyu nodded. "That's for sure. I don't know if you've analyzed it, but since the Thug Academy was born, they achieved a 100-game winning streak in the Blue Sea Arena, which had never been seen in 30 years. In another 2 months, they crossed the level 2 fishery and returned unscathed." Xiang Nan said, "Yes, they're progressing too quickly." Xiao Wushuang said, "So, their target must be the SAN. It should be a level 3 fishery." Wang Baiyu denied, "No." Xiao Wushuang was puzzled. "What's wrong?" Wang Baiyu narrowed his eyes. "If their target is SAN. In fact, Players could go to the level 3 fishery after a 100-game winning streak in the arena. Don't forget, those who can defeat the top 100 of the 3 academies will go to SAN 3. Shouldn't it be normal to go to the level 3 fishery? But they didn't. They deliberately went to the level 2 fishery. The level 3 fishery is only a transition for them. Xiao Wushuang swallowed. Seriously? Are you going to tell me? Wang Baiyu nodded. Yes, their target should be the unknown place. Everyone froze in place. Xiang Nan laughed dryly. Forget it. It's too far away. I think if I have the chance to set foot on San Francisco in 3 years, I'm already a genius in the level 3 fishery. Xiao Wushuang nodded. Exactly. Xiaoyu pursed her lips. She had never thought about it. She just wanted to be a great fishing master. She had thought about fishing in the level 2 fishery in the future, but she had never thought about going to the level 3 fishery. The level 3 fishery. Her father had said, the level 3 fishery was a place where even great fishing masters could die at any time. Xiao Wushuang, on the other hand, glanced at Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu, it's not bad to be friends. At least we can have dinner, chat, and play cards together occasionally. Xiaoyu pursed her lips. Okay. On the second day after entertaining Xiaoyu and the others, Han Fei asked Li Qing and the others to come over and arrange someone to take care of the plantation. He also brewed vinegar next to the house. Looking at the plantation, Han Fei said casually, I may not be back for a long time. Find me in the Blue Sea town if you need me. He knows how to find me. Li Qing nodded. Yes, young master. Han Fei patted Li Gan's arm and said, keep an eye on the plantation and eat whatever you want. Occasionally go and take care of the weeds in the field. Don't worry about running out of spiritual fruit. Just take as many as you need. As for the rest, just let them ripen, fall, and rot. New ones will soon grow. Li Gan's face turned red. Yes, young master, I will. Definitely. Personally, before Li Gan finished speaking, he saw a jade slip thrown at him. He subconsciously took it and looked confused. Han Fei said, this is a spirit-level combat skill. The important figures in the gang can spread it to them as long as they are reliable. Li Gan's eyes widened. Spirit level? Of course he had heard of it. Above the mortal level was the mystic level, and above the mystic level was the spiritual level. This was a whole level higher. This was simply a treasure. Of course, Han Fei threw away the dual knife art that he picked up. He didn't care about this kind of combat skill at all. Why would I practice the dual knife art instead of the million knife art? Of course, it was useless to Han Fei, but Li Qing and Li Gan hadn't seen it before. Not being able to come into contact with them was the greatest sin. Old Jiang and Jiang Qin left. It seemed that there was nothing worth staying in the Heavenly Water Village. He felt that it would be very difficult for him to come back in the future. Thug Academy. When Han Fei came back, he heard clanging sounds in the plantation. He walked in and found that Lu Renquang was smashing wheat with 2 large shields. Han Fei was amused. Fatty, when did you come back? Lu Renquang was overjoyed to see Han Fei. I came back a long time ago. It's the 9th day. You are the only one left. Han Fei said in surprise. Didn't we have a 15-day vacation? Why did you come back early? Lu Renquang stretched his muscles. I have nothing to do when I go back. Xia Shaochan also made a breakthrough. You also made a breakthrough? Lu Renquang's eyes widened. No way. How long has it been? Han Fei just made a breakthrough in the Fire Cloud Cave in the level 2 fishery. It had only been a few days, 2 months, and he had broken through again? Han Fei waved his hand and said, if you eat too much good food, you will naturally make a breakthrough. Have you forgotten that my sea-swallowing seashell is full of seafood? Lu Renquang shivered. But not so fast. That was just a creature from the level 2 fishery, not a level 3 one. From the level 3 fishery. Han Fei dragged him. Stop knocking. Take it back and knock it slowly. I still have something to tell you. After entering the school, Xia Xiaochan and Zhang Xuanyu were sparring, and Zhang Xuanyu was almost beaten to death. Seeing Han Fei come in, Zhang Xuanyu immediately shouted, "Fei! Come and help! Xia Xiaochan is crazy." Han Fei waved his claws. Xia Xiaochan hit him. Bang! Zhang Xuanyu was cut and rolled on the ground twice. Then he saw Xia Xiaochan's figure disappear. Han Fei almost subconsciously tilted his body, but he was still hit by her. The show was stabbed in the stomach. Clang! Fortunately, Han Fei had adjusted his posture. Otherwise, the feeling of being pricked would be really unpleasant. Han Fei was speechless. Xia Xiaochan, don't stab people so easily, okay? Xia Xiaochan's figure suddenly appeared, and she looked at Han Fei up and down. Have you also become an advanced great fishing master? Xia Xiaochan returned empty-handed this time, and was very depressed. She thought she had advanced fast enough, but who knew that Han Fei would also make a breakthrough after a trip back? Han Fei nodded. I was lucky. Xia Xiaochan put away the show. Shou replied, forget it, I'm not fighting anymore. Fatty, Zhang Xuanyu, you two have to work hard. Now only you two are intermediate great fishing masters. Han Fei was surprised. Xiaobai also made a breakthrough. Zhang Xuanyu was depressed. Alas! It's so stressful. Can't you guys let me relax? At this moment, Luo Xiaobai came down from the treehouse and said coldly, Get ready these days. Lu Renkuang and Zhang Xuanyu have a good time. I'm afraid that many people will come to our school to sign up in a few days. At that time, we have to act as examiners. Luo Xiaobai said, the Thug Academy is already famous. I'm afraid there will be a lot of people coming. Lu Renkuang said, Then I'll go and practice. Are you going to be examiners? Seeing that Lu Renkuang wanted to run away, Han Fei grabbed his clothes. Don't run. I have something to say. Everyone looked at Han Fei, only to see the latter's face change. Someone robbed you of your money. Everyone. Han Fei said unhurriedly, Do you know the Black River Chamber of Commerce? Lu Renkuang nodded. Yes, the Chamber of Commerce that wants to catch Master Turtle. It's just an ordinary Chamber of Commerce. What happened to them? Han Fei said, They robbed the fish dragons of the technology of fish dragon cards. Cell phone site. Chapter 241. Hearing this, everyone was furious. They finally had money, but Han Fei suddenly told them that their money had been robbed. Zhang Xuanyu and the others were furious. Xia Xiaochan frowned. Let's go. Zhang Xuanyu agreed. Yes. We can't tolerate this. What's so great about the Black River Chamber of Commerce? This is clearly a forceful robbery. Lu Renkuang patted his belly. This is interesting. I fight with fish in the water every day, but I haven't fought with people for a long time. Luo Xiaobai frowned slightly. I'm going to tell the teacher. Before Luo Xiaobai left, she was pulled out by Xia Xiaochan. Han Fei grinned. Well, he didn't even need to fool a bunch of poor kids. They were easily fooled. But it was good. The business of the fish dragons shouldn't be touched by others. Not far away, Old Bai and Xiao Zhan were dumbfounded. Didn't they say that they would return to school early and directly enter the training state? As soon as Han Fei came back, they all ran away. Xiao Zhan said, I'll go and catch them. Old Bai sighed. Forget it, you go and have a look. Don't forget, our school has a share in this. This Black River Chamber of Commerce is really despicable. Don't they know that this is the source of income of our Thug Academy? Xiao Zhan was dumbfounded. Old Bai patted him on the shoulder. Go and keep an eye on them. The Black River Chamber of Commerce even wanted to buy a plantation a few days ago. What are they thinking? Xiao Zhan finally understood. Because there was an old money grubber, there were a group of young money grubbers. What could he do? He could only follow them. The three major chambers of commerce in the Blue Sea town were actually in one place. The Linglong Tower was undoubtedly the strongest, so it had a tall tower. The Black River Chamber of Commerce and the Colorful Clothes Chamber of Commerce were actually opposite, but these two were not directly open to the public and required an appointment, so normally no one went there. At this moment, the 5 of them came with the gang. Gang and 5 or 6 members of the Fish Dragons came to the door aggressively, and after seeing the sign of Black River, they went straight inside. "Stop, what are you doing?" Xia Xiaochan's eyes turned cold. "Get lost." Han Fei comforted her. "Xia Xiaochan, girls should be reserved. Watch me." Han Fei turned his head to look at the guard, and his face turned cold. "Get your manager out here." Xia Xiaochan turned her head to look at Han Fei. "So girls should be more reserved, but boys shouldn't?" The guard's expression turned ugly. How could he lose face after being pointed at and shouted at by a group of children? Scram! The guard's aura burst out, revealing the strength of a peak-level junior great fishing master. However, in the next second, he suddenly shivered. His opponents immediately erupted with an even stronger aura. None of them were weaker than him. In the face of the sudden explosion of spiritual energy, everyone on the street looked over. This place was the CBD of the Blue Sea town, where the 3 major chambers of commerce were gathered. The Blue Sea Arena was right next to it, and so was the refining hall. There were also stores opened by the rich. In this place, any small matter was no small matter, and would attract attention. Someone from the Ling Long Tower exclaimed in surprise, "Hey! Has the Black River Trading Company been provoked?" Some passers-by gave him a sidelong glance. "Oh, these boys are so powerful. Are they heavenly talents from the 3 academies?" Some people began to stop and watch. Someone from the Colorful Clothes Trading Company would stand at the door to watch the fun. The guard of the Black River Trading Company's face changed, and after saying, "Wait here," he hurried into the Chamber of Commerce. After a while, a middle-aged man came out. He was slightly taken aback when he saw the 5 of them. He naturally recognized the players who won 100 games in a row in the Blue Sea Arena a while ago. Without thinking, he knew why Han Fei and the others were here. However, the middle-aged man was still calm and asked with a fake smile, "I am Jin Yunqing, the head of the Black River Trading Company. May I know why you are here?" Han Fei stared at the middle-aged man's eyes. "Don't you know why we are here? I'll give you 2 choices. One is to hand over the printing formula and promise never to use it, and pay 100,000 mid-quality pearls to the Fish Dragons. The other is that if you don't hand over the formula, the Fish Dragons will officially start a business war with you." Business war? It was the first time that Jin Yunqing had heard this term, but the literal meaning was easy to understand. He smiled and said, "Little friends, sorry, I really don't know what the printing formula is, but you must have evidence. The Black River Trading Company is not a fame-seeking person." Li Gang and the others behind Han Fei didn't say a word and didn't dare to speak at all. They were all great fishing masters. So powerful. How could a group of fishermen like them participate in such a battle? But Han Fei was not afraid. He sneered. "Have you heard of a saying?" Jin Yunqing's eyes narrowed into a line. "What is it?" "The barefooted are not afraid of those who wear shoes." Gang Zi Li Gang and the others moved and lay down at the door of the Black River Trading Company. Suddenly, a member of the Fish Dragons shouted, "The Black River Trading Company is so black-hearted. They snatched the ancestral formula of the Fish Dragons. There's no justice." Another 2 pulled open a large piece of cloth dyed red and cried, "There's no justice in this. The Black River Trading Company is robbing us by force. There's no law." There was even a man holding a wooden board high. "Black-hearted Trading Company, give me back my hard-earned money." Jin Yunqing was dumbfounded, and so were Xia Xiaochan and the others. When had they ever seen such a scene? Lying down as he pleased, throwing a tantrum as he pleased, crying as he pleased. Bloody hell, all of their faces were red, all right? Luo Xiaobai blushed and lowered her head, wishing she could find a hole to hide in. Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renkuang looked at Han Fei in shock. So this is what you call fighting? If you had told us to fight like this, we wouldn't have come here. Xiao Zhan, who was following them from a distance, opened his mouth wide and almost fell to the ground. The Thug Academy is too ashamed to show its face to anyone. More and more people gathered around them. Who had seen such a scene before? The more people there were, the harder Gang and the others worked. Gang and the others worked even harder. They were all hooligans in the past. What had they not done before? They had done much worse things than this. Now that they had turned over a new leaf, someone came to make trouble. Wasn't this forcing them to go back to their old profession? Jin Yunqing's face turned red with anger and he shouted sternly, Han Fei, don't be unreasonable. If you don't leave, don't blame me for reporting you to the law enforcement team. Han Fei said with a smile, Yo, are you angry now? Are you going to report me to the law enforcement team? It's okay, just report me. Don't make me feel afraid of you. Jin Yunqing widened his eyes and looked at the fearless Han Fei. For a moment, he didn't know what to do. Xia Xiaochan tugged at Han Fei's clothes and said to him via voice transmission, That's enough. If you don't feel ashamed, just leave. Han Fei responded, No hurry. Wait a little longer, just a little longer. Before coming here, Han Fei had learned from Li Gang. The main businesses of the three major chambers of commerce were different. The Linglong Tower basically sold everything, the colorful clothes chamber of commerce mainly did the clothing business, and the Black River Chamber of Commerce was the most amazing, specializing in selling contractual spiritual beasts. There were a large number of living marine creatures stored in the Black River Chamber of Commerce. Were contractual spiritual beasts valuable? Of course they were valuable. Ordinary people couldn't catch them, but the Black River Chamber of Commerce could help you catch them. You could even book them and catch whatever you wanted, even the level 3 fishery. They could even arrange for demonic fish in the level 3 fishery. Seeing more and more onlookers, Han Fei smiled more and more happily. Little Black must have sneaked in at this moment, right? Selling contractual spiritual beasts? I'll bite all of them to death. I'll come back in a few days and bite them again. Of course, Han Fei didn't show any reaction. He turned around and said to Lu Renkuang, Shield. Lu Renkuang. Although he didn't know what Han Fei was doing, Lu Renkuang still took out a shield and gave it to him. Clang, clang, clang. Fellow folks of the Blue Sea Town, attention. Today, the Black River Chamber of Commerce stole the trade secrets of the fish dragons and bullied us because we are new here. Although the fish dragons are furious, we can't resist the Black River Chamber of Commerce. Today, the fish dragons will suffer a loss. However, although the fish dragons are small, we will never yield. Today, I have decided to create a brand new casual game after the fish dragon cards. Half a month later, this new game will be officially released to the public. I hope you don't miss it when you pass by. Then Han Fei kicked Li Gang. Gang. Li Gang stood up with a swish and shouted, In the face of the Black Heart Chamber of Commerce, the fish dragons will never yield, mobile phone site. Chapter 242. In front of the Black River Chamber of Commerce, countless people were watching. Some were pointing at them, some were sympathetic, some were disdainful, and some were just onlookers. Someone exclaimed, Isn't that the Thug legend? Wow. They are really the 5 heavenly talents of the 4th Academy. The Black River Chamber of Commerce is too much. How can they bully a group of children? Someone didn't believe it. I don't know if it's true, but it seems that there must be a conflict between the two. Someone said casually, Who cares? Anyway, we can't afford the contractual spiritual beasts of the Black River Chamber of Commerce. It's good that the fish dragons are going to make a new game. Everyone was talking. Behind him, Jin Yunqing shouted, Han Fei, do you know the consequences of maliciously slandering the Black River Chamber of Commerce? Han Fei turned around and said provocatively, What consequences? Do you want to hit me? Come on, try it. Believe it or not, our teacher can slap your Black River Chamber of Commerce to pieces. Seeing Jin Yunqing's angry face, Han Fei saw that Little Black had sneaked out. Suddenly, Han Fei shouted, "Attach!" In an instant, the phantom of the nine-tailed mantis shrimp appeared, which startled the audience, including Jin Yunqing. Han Fei smiled. "Don't be nervous. I just want to show off my contractual spiritual beast. Your Black River Chamber of Commerce doesn't have any, right?" Jin Yunqing gnashed his teeth. "Han Fei, do you really think the Black River Chamber of Commerce can't deal with you?" Han Fei immediately cancelled the attachment. He just hid the fact that he had taken back Little Black and Little White. Han Fei pretended to be scared. "Hey, look at you. Okay, the fish dragons have vented their anger. I warn you, you can spread the fish dragon cards, but you must use the name Fish Dragon cards. If one day I hear about Black River chess cards or Black Heart chess cards from another village, I'll deal with you again." Zhang Xuanyu was stunned. "You're leaving?" Han Fei asked. "Then why don't you stay here?" Zhang Xuanyu shook his head. Luo Xiaobai and Xia Shaochan were the first to slip away from the side. This was too embarrassing. They thought they were here to fight, but it turned out that they were here to act pitifully. Jin Yunqing clenched his fist. The fish dragons? How could he eradicate the fish dragons? However, at this moment, a staff member of the Black River Chamber of Commerce hurriedly walked out and said something to Jin Yunqing with a pale face. In an instant, Jin Yunqing's momentum soared, and the power of a dangling fisher burst out. "Han Fei, stop!" Jin Yunqing's phantom big hand grabbed at Han Fei. Han Fei looked back and was not surprised to see this scene. Jiang Qin had used similar power before, and her fist shadow was much more powerful than this big hand phantom. However, Han Fei didn't move or stop him. Luren Quan quickly raised his shield and stood in front of them. "Humph!" Amidst the exclamations, the giant hand was already in front of Han Fei and the others. Suddenly, a shadow of a fist burst out from the crowd and smashed the giant hand with lightning speed. However, the fist did not lose momentum and went straight to Jin Yunqing. Boom! Jin Yunqing was sent flying, and the gate of the Black River Chamber of Commerce burst open, leaving a big hole of 7 or 8 meters in diameter. The crowd burst into exclamations, and under the shocked gazes of countless people, Xiao Zhan's figure walked out of the crowd. "Humph! How dare you attack the students of my academy? Who gave you the courage?" Han Fei, Zhang Xuanyu, and the others all swallowed. "This King Fist is too powerful, isn't it?" What level of power did Xiao Zhan use just now? A smile appeared on the corner of Han Fei's mouth. "Teacher, you're awesome." Xiao Zhan glared at Han Fei. "Go back to school." Li, who was following Han Fei, almost peed his pants. Gang and the others almost peed their pants. Was this the realm above the great fishing master level? At that moment, they felt that they were about to be torn apart. It was simply too terrifying. However, when they thought about it, they were all shocked. So what if the Black River Chamber of Commerce is powerful? Is it more powerful than the teachers of the Thug Academy? The entire Thug Academy is our shareholder, okay? We get members from the Fish Dragons every month. Thinking of this, they all glowed with joy. In the ruins, Jin Yunqing vomited a mouthful of blood. He was too strong. At that moment, he couldn't fight back at all. Are the teachers of the Thug Academy so strong? On the way back, Xiao Zhan frowned. Don't do this kind of thing next time. Don't embarrass the school. Han Fei smiled awkwardly. No, I won't do it again. Luo Xiaobai frowned. Today we have completely offended the Black River Chamber of Commerce. They will probably retaliate. Han Fei said indifferently, Don't be afraid. Gang Zi, hire those great fishing masters of the Black River Chamber of Commerce at double the price, and then find a random person to poison our hot pot restaurant and then be caught by us on the spot. Do you know how to do this? Everyone stopped and looked at Han Fei up and down. Li Gang also trembled. Ruthless. This is really ruthless. Not only ruthless, but also black-hearted. The people are from the Black River Chamber of Commerce. If they are caught on the spot, how can the Black River Chamber of Commerce get away with it? Their reputation will be tarnished. Han Fei smiled dryly. Don't look at me like this. This kind of thing may really happen. In the food industry, this kind of means is too common. Instead of waiting for others to do it, we might as well do it ourselves. If there is a similar incident, the first thing people will think of is the Black River Chamber of Commerce. Well, Zhang Xuanyu, you handle this matter. Puff, Zhang Xuanyu was dumbfounded. Why me? Han Fei said to him via voice transmission, you are the only one here who will treat a little girl to dinner. Zhang Xuanyu's expression changed several times, and he gnashed his teeth. You win. Luo Xiaobai frowned. Han Fei, this kind of behavior is not righteous. Han Fei sneered. Righteous? In this endless ocean, what is righteous? Don't be too kind. Don't think that only the ocean is good. Is the floating island any worse than the ocean? In this world, the most terrible thing is always the human heart. Xiao Zhan's heart did skip a beat. This was not the first time he had heard this. Old Bai often said this. He really couldn't judge whether Han Fei was good or bad. But Han Fei was definitely a good student, so Xiao Zhan didn't take it seriously. Han Fei patted Li again. The gang said, come back with me. I'm going to expand the business of the fish dragons. I'm not joking. We must do what we say. Lithe Gang was surprised. Young master, is there really a new game? Han Fei chuckled. Not only a game, but I'm also going to open a fish dragon buffet restaurant in the Blue Sea town. Forget it, I won't tell you now. You'll know it later. Half a month later, the fish dragons suddenly went on a rampage, opening 36 large shops and nearly 100 ordinary shops in the Blue Sea town. Of course, this didn't cause much trouble in the Blue Sea town. After all, the Blue Sea town was too big, with a population of 5 million. Who would pay attention to who rented what shop? But when the shops were opened, it was different. When a novel shop suddenly appeared, people would try it even if they just wanted to try it. On the 8th day of training, a major event broke out in the Fish Dragon Hot Pot restaurant, which alarmed the inspectors. It was said that a great fishing master poisoned the hot pot restaurant and was discovered on the spot. Later, the inspectors verified that this person was from the Black River Chamber of Commerce. Immediately, this incident spread, and the reputation of the Black River Chamber of Commerce was ruined. In addition, the Black River Chamber of Commerce had recently breached the contract with the contractual spiritual beasts they promised, which had been criticized by many people. It was said that when the poisoning incident spread, Jin Yunqing vomited blood in front of everyone, which was very angry. However, one thing after another pushed the fish dragons to the public, so when the fish dragons launched the Fish Dragon Mahjong House and Fish Dragon Seafood Buffet, it went very smoothly. Especially the Mahjong game, which took less than 3 days to sweep across almost half of the Blue Sea town. There were countless people who wanted to buy it every day, so the fish dragons urgently recruited a group of people from the Heavenly Water Village. Of course, he didn't care about the details, because another year's enrollment season had begun. At this moment, at the gate of the Thug Academy, a sea of people. Mobile phone station. Chapter 243. Don't push. Line up. Line up. The fat on Lu Renquang's face shook and he shouted, line up and pay the assessment fee first. You can participate in the assessment with 10 mid-quality pearls. A parent shouted, little brother, isn't it too expensive? My son is so talented. How can we not pay? Lu Renquang shouted, you don't have to pay. Those above the realm of a great fishing master don't have to pay the assessment fee. Those below the realm of a great fishing master have to pay unless they are really talented. By the way, those below the realm of a fishing master have no hope of entering our Thug Academy. As soon as Lu Renquang said this, many people changed their expressions. In the crowd, a boy wondered, Dad, why do you want to come to the 4th Academy? Can't we go to the 1st Academy? The boy's father said angrily, "Shut up! If you can enter the 4th academy, why would you go to the other 3 academies? Don't talk nonsense." Some people were indeed poor and their children were not talented enough to become fishing masters, so they chose to leave. But most people still chose to stay. In any case, compared with their future, 10 mid-quality pearls was nothing. Old Bai was far more interested in money than in the assessment. At this moment, he was sitting alone at the gate of the academy, with a long table in front of him and a big basket beside him. He was only responsible for collecting money. Those who came here because of his fame all regarded him as a lonely old man in the school and thought he was just a guard. In addition to Lu Renquang standing at the door and shouting, Han Fei, Zhang Xuanyu, and the others were all sitting on chairs in the open space at the door. The chairs were lined up, and there was a sign hanging beside them, on which were written Spirit Gatherer, Soul Warrior, Hunter, Manipulator, and Armorist respectively. Of course, because of the shortage of manpower, the armorist Lu Renquang, who was also the school publicist, was standing at the gate and shouting. His chair was empty. Someone paid the money and stood in the open space in front of Han Fei and the others with a trembling face. Lu Renquang said, "Hey! Listen up, all of you. You can choose any of the 5 major professions. As long as you can last more than 5 minutes in the same realm, you are qualified to enter our Thug Academy. Our 5 examiners are absolutely fair and will never go easy on you. Do you understand?" The first examinee came over. The boy looked at Han Fei and the others uneasily and hurriedly said, "My name is—" Before he finished, Luo Xiaobai said, "We don't need you to tell us names. It's a waste of time. Tell me your name after you become a member of the Thug Academy." The boy froze for a moment and then made up his mind. He picked up the stick and said, "I challenge the Spirit Gatherer." Zhang Xuanyu was not surprised at all. It was too normal. Everyone thought that Spirit Gatherers were the targets to be protected on the battlefield, and their combat ability was extremely poor. It was not a problem for them to jump to the Spirit Gatherers at the beginning of the battle. But the problem was that they forgot where they were. This was the Thug Academy. Even if he suppressed his realm, could Han Fei be an ordinary Spirit Gatherer? Lu Renquang simply shouted, "Everyone, silence. Next, prepare. Remember, as long as you can hold on for 5 seconds, you'll pass the test." Han Fei rose and suppressed his level to that of a level 9 fisher. Picking up a regular iron rod, he said, "Come on." The young man took a deep breath. On his way here, his father had told him about the 5 of them. He was betting that the level 9 fisher Han Fei was not as strong as him. "Ah!" The young man shouted and spiritual energy erupted from the iron rod. However, Han Fei just held the rod casually, slightly leaned to the side, and slapped it horizontally. With a clang, the boy was sent flying out of the school gate. Han Fei said casually, "Don't try to use a spiritual energy explosion at the beginning. You can't beat anyone here in a spiritual energy explosion." Lu Renquang shouted, "Next." However, the people in line were dumbfounded. Damn it! One move? Han Fei didn't even bother to admit it. When I was AF King level 9 fisher, I could even fight with Li Ju. You want to beat me with a spiritual energy explosion? What the hell? Then a girl came in and before Han Fei walked back, she shouted, "I also challenge the Spirit Gatherer." Then the girl took out 2 daggers. Han Fei grinned. "A junior fishing master and a hunter? Come on." Just at the moment the girl disappeared, Han Fei slightly leaned to the side. Without even using the rod, he directly punched out and the girl's petite figure was smashed away from the air and fell outside the door. Lu Renquang shouted, "Next." "Wait a minute." The girl was not convinced. She got up from the ground and said, "If you are just an ordinary junior fishing master, how can you find me?" "Yes. This girl is a hunter." "Yes, is it really okay for the examiner?" In the crowd, some people began to doubt him and there was a lot of discussion. Han Fei grinned. "The sound of the wind. A half-baked hunter. Before the person arrives, the wind arrives first. How can you be a hunter? Next. Han Fei didn't care about the girl at all. This was an assessment. He wouldn't cheat on a junior fishing master. Lu Renquang said angrily, "Don't doubt our examiner. You are not worthy of our examiner cheating. You are too weak. If you doubt it, you can leave." Next. This time, no one asked Han Fei. A handsome boy said, "I choose armorist." Lu Renquang went straight to the field. "I am an armorist. Come on." Lu Renquang took out a knife from his armor box, but the handsome boy suddenly ran around Lu Renquang at a very fast speed. Lu Renquang laughed, raised his saber, and swung it in a circle. With a ding, the boy retreated 6 or 7 steps. Before he could react, a saber appeared in front of him. Lu Renquang was speechless. "What are you thinking? Do you think armorists are easy to bully just because they are slow? My speed is slow, but my knife is fast. 1, 2, let alone 5 breaths of time, none of them could even last for 2 breaths of time." Someone challenged Luo Xiaobai and was sent flying with a vine. She didn't even have to lift her butt. Someone thought he was an armorist and challenged Xia Shaochan. Before he took out his shield, Xia Shaochan had already put her dagger on his neck. Someone thought he was an armorist and challenged Xia Shaochan. On the other hand, Zhang Xuanyu was a soul warrior himself. In everyone's impression, he was the best at fighting and had the fewest challengers. The assessment went on for nearly an hour. Except for one person who lasted for 3 minutes under Lu Renquang's attack, the rest basically only lasted 1 move. Seeing this scene, many people despaired and directly left. What was there to compete for? Was this something that a human could compete against? Lu Renquang's voice was hoarse. He ran back to his seat and pulled Han Fei up. "Go. Go. I can't shout anymore. Give me some dried fish. I'm hungry." Han Fei. Han Fei took out a handful of dried fish and handed it to Lu Renquang, and then kicked Zhang Xuanyu. "You're the most relaxed one. You're almost asleep. Go and shout." Zhang Xuanyu was speechless. "Aren't you tired of standing there?" However, Zhang Xuanyu was really bored, so he got up and walked to the door. "I told you that you'd better not challenge anyone below the fishing master realm. Those who can enter the Thug Academy are all people who can challenge people above their level. If you can kill a junior fishing master as a level 9 fisher, you're welcome to challenge me. If you can't, you can go back." At this time, a young man in fine clothes walked out of the crowd, holding a rod and saying, "I challenge a soul warrior." Zhang Xuanyu was shocked. "Is someone finally challenging me?" Zhang Xuanyu laughed. "Come on." The young man moved his feet and the rod in his hand turned into dozens of rod shadows, stabbing straight at Zhang Xuanyu. "Yo. Interesting, but the shortcoming is too obvious. The spiritual energy can't be balanced. I can tell it's fake at a glance." Zhang Xuanyu knocked away the real rod and swept it at the young man in fine clothes, but the young man suddenly leaned back and took out 2 daggers from his back. The show charged forward like a bolt of lightning. Wave. Zhang Xuanyu struck out with his rod, and as if there were waves rolling behind him, he was sent flying with a bang. Zhang Xuanyu dropped the rod and walked to the door. "Your combat skills are good, but your control of spiritual energy is not good enough. You're both a soul warrior and a hunter, but you're not proficient in either. You're too slow." Next. At this time, someone in the team was speechless. A genius with 2 professions? How could he just win? "Well, sir, can I get a refund?" Old Bai rolled his eyes at the person who spoke. "What are you thinking? Have you ever seen a refund after paying?" Another 2 hours passed. The long line was gone, and there were only less than 100 people left. This was probably the school with the fastest enrollment speed in history. Countless people cursed when they left. What kind of school is this? They just don't want to enroll students. At this time, in front of old Bai's table, a young man stammered, "Grandpa, I only have 1 mid-quality pearl. Can I take the assessment?" Cell phone site. Chapter 244. Beside the boy was an old man with white hair, who was smiling at Old Bai, holding a mid-quality pearl in his hand. Old Bai glanced at him and waved his hand. Forget it, forget it. Let's go. As soon as Old Bai finished speaking, someone behind him said, "Ha! Old man, why don't they pay?" Old Bai snorted. If you are poor, you can refuse to pay. That was the reality. The poor were poor. Although Old Bai was greedy for money, this pair of grandfather and grandson were obviously poor. They didn't even have a stick in their hands. It was immoral of them to accept money from others. The boy walked to the martial arts field, looked around, and finally took a deep breath. I challenge the manipulator. As soon as the boy said this, the people waiting behind all shook their heads. Was this boy's head hit by an ironhead fish? This manipulator was the captain of the thug legend. Up to now, she didn't even lift her butt. How could he challenge her? Lu Renkuang wondered. Han Fei, if I'm not mistaken, this boy has just become a junior fishing master, right? The pressure of his spiritual energy looks a bit weak. Han Fei nodded. You're right. His physique is a bit weak. The group of people behind were waiting to see a good show. They estimated that this boy would be defeated with one whip. Looking at the slightly nervous boy, Luo Xiaobai nodded very seriously, still sitting there meticulously. The boy opened his hand, and the ground under his feet instantly turned green, and large pieces of filamentous seaweed spread out. Huh! Seaweed? Han Fei exclaimed in surprise. Yes, this was the most common seaweed, even the kind that had no name, which could be seen everywhere in ordinary fisheries. Everyone thought that this would be a battle without any suspense, and that it wouldn't even take a breath of time. But when Luo Xiaobai raised her hand, she didn't summon her vines. Luo Xiaobai bounced off the chair and stepped out of the seaweed that was spreading over. She raised her hand again, summoned the vines from the open space, and slapped down. However, to everyone's astonishment, the young man's entire body slumped to the ground and disappeared. Large pieces of seaweed appeared on the ground. Smack! With a slap of the vines, a large area of seaweed was flattened, but the remaining seaweed spread towards Luo Xiaobai like maggots. Exclamations came from the crowd behind him. Lu Renkuang also exclaimed, "Wow, is this a combat skill? Or was it some kind of ability?" He turned himself into seaweed. Han Fei also widened his eyes. That's an exaggeration. Turning people into grass? Grass doesn't die and people don't perish? In this way, unless we grind this entire stretch of seaweed into dregs, we won't be able to kill this person, right? Luo Xiaobai was very calm. She summoned dozens of vines and swept them across. Everywhere it passed, a faint mist bloomed. Zhang Xuanyu smiled. When Xiaobai was a junior fishing master, she hadn't mastered the use of poison yet. She only mastered some paralysis skills. However, this should be enough. Sure enough, the sea of seaweed stopped moving forward. Even so, the seaweed had already spread to an area of 30 to 40 meters. At this moment, he couldn't find the youth at all. Luo Xiaobai didn't panic, but stared at the seaweed carefully. It was impossible for this youth to be so invincible. There had to be a loophole. There was no such thing as a perfect ability in this world. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Han Fei nodded. I saw it. Lu Renkuang asked, where? After a full 3 minutes, Luo Xiaobai suddenly pointed her vines at an inconspicuous seaweed among the vines. However, in the middle of the attack, Zhang Xuanyu said leisurely, "Time's up. The examinee has passed." The group of people outside were shocked. They were not only shocked that the boy passed, but also shocked by this boy's godlike ability. Turning into seaweed? This was simply unheard of. The seaweed gradually gathered and turned into the boy's appearance again. The boy looked back at his grandpa with a big grin. The old man smiled kindly. "Nan Nan, come and greet senior brother and senior sister." The boy quickly took a breath, turned around, and bowed to Han Fei and the others. "Chu Jin Nan greets senior brother and senior sister." Han Fei quite liked this guy. Although he looked a little stupid, he seemed to have a good character. He waved his hand and said, "Come, sit here." Han Fei pointed to Zhang Xuanyu's seat and Chu Jinan was taken aback. Han Fei smiled. "It's okay. He's standing." Chu Jinan blinked and didn't sit down. He just stood behind Zhang Xuanyu's chair and looked at Zhang Xuanyu cautiously. However, Zhang Xuanyu didn't feel anything and continued to shout, "Next." The remaining hundreds of people all saw someone pass the assessment with their own eyes, and it was Luo Xiaobai's seat. Immediately, someone chose Luo Xiaobai. But the result? As expected, they all failed. So far, except for Chu Jinan, no one had passed. When there were only 7 or 8 applicants left, Han Fei saw Grandpa Leader coming with Suya. Han Fei quickly moved his chair to the side of the door. "Grandpa Leader, you're here?" Seeing Han Fei move his chair out, the village leader quickly waved his hand. No, you're taking the assessment now. Sit down, sit down. It's okay. I still have a chair with me." Under the gaze of countless people, many people stared at the girl next to Han Fei, wondering if she got in through the back door. The village leader asked, "Han Fei, I heard that you haven't recruited a single student yet. Where are you?" "We just recruited one." The village leader looked over, saw a standing boy, and couldn't help taking a deep breath. "So far, only one?" Han Fei scratched his head. "Hey, it's mainly because there are too few people who meet the requirement." The village leader paused and hurriedly waved his hand to let Han Fei go back. He finally sat down on the chair. After all, a child from our village moved a chair here, which was a great honor for him. The village leader suggested, "Suya, this assessment is not easy. Give it a try. If you can't pass, we can go to other academies." Suya looked at the few people left in front of the Thug Academy, took a deep breath, and nodded. Since she saw Han Fei's strength last time, she asked a lot about the 4th Academy and heard about Han Fei's brilliant record of winning 100 games in a row in the Blue Sea Arena. So, she had to come to have a try. In fact, Han Fei had actually helped her get in through the back door. One plate Ray had improved her cultivation by 2 levels. At this moment, she was already a peak level 9 fisher. Among the few people left, a woman led a girl over. Surprisingly, although the girl was petite, she was carrying an armor box. Lu Renquang's eyes lit up. "A female armorist, rare." Zhang Xuanyu asked, "Who do you want to challenge?" The girl looked straight at Zhang Xuanyu. "I want to challenge you." Zhang Xuanyu froze for a moment and chuckled. "Okay." Zhang Xuanyu picked up the fine iron rod. "Attention, it's starting." Zhang Xuanyu suppressed his realm to that of a level 9 fisher and stabbed casually, and waves seemed to surge behind him. In the eyes of others, it was a wave of spiritual energy. However, the girl turned around and inserted the armor box in front of her. The box opened and 9 long swords shot out with a swish. The long swords stood upright and rotated around the girl. With a clang, the long swords were knocked away. At the same time, Zhang Xuanyu also took 3 or 4 steps back. Immediately, the eyes of Han Fei and the others lit up. Xia Xiaochan was delighted. "Good." Lu Renquang laughed. "It's a sword array, no worse than my knife array." Zhang Xuanyu smiled faintly. 3 layered waves in furious sea. The girl's face changed slightly. The 9 swords that were knocked away returned in an instant, and one of them shot directly at Zhang Xuanyu. Crack! A sword was broken and the girl vomited a mouthful of blood. However, she didn't stop and shot the second sword again, stronger and fiercer. Crack! The second sword was broken again and the girl vomited blood again, her face extremely pale. At this time, Zhang Xuanyu's attack hadn't been broken yet. The girl shouted and the 7 swords gathered in front of her in a circle, like a sword shield. Bam! The sword shield was knocked away and the girl was hit flying by the rod, rolling 5 or 6 times on the ground. But suddenly, spiritual energy surged out of the girl's body, and she immediately got up. The 7 swords merged into one and turned into a big sword, shooting straight at Zhang Xuanyu. Wave slash. Zhang Xuanyu naturally didn't show any mercy and attacked with all his strength. However, the fine iron rod in his hand was shattered inch by the giant sword that had merged into one. There was really no other way. Zhang Xuanyu directly covered the huge sword with spiritual energy and patted it 3 times in a row. Only then did he manage to deflect the powerful sword. Zhang Xuanyu used the strength of a peak-level fisher. You pass. To be precise, when Zhang Xuanyu patted the sword for the 2nd time, he used too much strength. Since she could force him to use a higher realm than others, she naturally passed. When the girl heard this, she vomited a mouthful of blood and fainted. At this time, a vine quickly stretched out from the ground, wrapped around the girl, and helped her to Zhang Xuanyu's position. Luo Xiaobai simply said, "Heal." Chapter 245. Han Fei waved his hand, and a ray of light fell on the girl. In the eyes of outsiders, it was magical, but Luo Xiaobai and the others were used to it. The girl's face quickly turned from pale to ruddy. After all, she was only a level 9 fisher, and it was much easier for her to recover than for a great fishing master. Seeing the girl slowly open her eyes, the woman outside the school gate breathed a sigh of relief. As long as she could enter the Thug Academy, it would be worth it no matter how serious her injury was. Han Fei glanced at the girl. "Don't talk. The injury will be healed in 100 minutes. Keep your breath steady." The girl nodded slightly. The people behind her couldn't help but smile bitterly when they saw this scene. This is too difficult. If they were in his shoes, they would have been defeated long ago. They probably couldn't even take the first blow, let alone the 3 blows of the 3-layered waves in Furious Sea. At the door, Suya was pale and very nervous. The village leader sighed. "It's okay. Just try your best. Don't pick Han Fei." Suya nodded. Of course, she wouldn't pick Han Fei. Last time, she found it at home. Even if Han Fei was 1 level lower, he could easily defeat her, let alone the same level. Suya went up and quickly glanced at the 5 of them. Lurenquang looked at Han Fei. "Your village? Junior sister?" Han Fei nodded. "Yes." Lurenquang laughed. "Unfortunately, no one will go easy on you." Han Fei nodded. "Of course." Suya ruled out Han Fei first, Xia Shaochan second, and Lurenquang third. It was not difficult for an armorist to deal with her. Suya looked at Zhang Xuanyu, thinking of the storm-like attack just now. She still couldn't resist it. In the end, she could only look at Luo Xiaobai. "I choose the manipulator." Luo Xiaobai nodded, and at the same time, she received a voice transmission from Han Fei in her mind. Do her a favor and defeat her in the 4th minute. Han Fei knew that Suya definitely couldn't pass, but it would be of great benefit to her future if she could hold on for 1 more minute. For the sake of the village leader, he was shameless. Luo Xiaobai frowned slightly and nodded imperceptibly. Suddenly, patches of spirit-entangling grass grew around Suya. Almost at the same time as the spirit-entangling grass, a vine slashed over. Suya gritted her teeth and somersaulted to the side. At the same time, she entangled the spirit grass on the vines. When other vines attacked, the spirit-entangled grass had already wrapped around Suya's waist and pulled her away from the air. The battle between the 2 manipulators seemed to be a thrilling battle. Suya dodged left and right. To be honest, it had only been a few days since the innate spirit awakening, and it was already pretty good that the innate spirit plant could be used to this extent. But on the 4th breath, a vine whooshed through the air. Suya wanted to dodge again, but she saw that the spirit-entangled grass was entangled by vines. Bang! Suya was sent flying by a vine. She spat out a mouthful of blood and couldn't get up again. Luo Xiaobai said, "You're talented and your control is not bad, but your fear is too strong. If you take the initiative to attack me, you might have a chance." At this point, the entire test was over. Han Fei walked out of the school gate, waved his hand, and a ray of light fell on Suya. Not bad. Go to the first academy. Grandpa Village Chief, I'm sorry to have wasted your trip. The village leader shook his head with a wry smile. The assessment should be rigorous. I won't stay here any longer. I have to take Suya to the first academy. Han Fei nodded. The injury will be healed in a few minutes. Seeing this scene, many people sighed. It seemed that it was impossible to get in through the back door. In other people's eyes, Suya had persisted for 2 minutes. If he had any sense of sentiment, he would have given it to her. For this reason, many people ran to say hello to the village leader. Grandpa, the one in your village is too strict, isn't he? He should have passed the test. Alas, what a waste to raise this brat. Grandpa, it's okay. It's the same to go to the first academy. The village leader greeted them one by one with a smile but didn't say anything. After the crowd dispersed, on the way to the first academy, the village leader slowly said, Do you think Han Fei is a bit unreasonable? Suya didn't speak, but the expression on her face was not very natural. The village leader sighed. In fact, he has passed the back door for you. Yes, I know. Not the plate ray, but just now. Suya was surprised. Just now? The village leader nodded. Although you fought with that Luo Xiaobai for 2 minutes, that's because she didn't want to defeat you directly. Several times, as long as she blocked your spirit entangling grass, you would be defeated. But she defeated you at the 4th minute. What does this mean? Suya looked at the village leader in surprise. Deliberately? The village leader nodded again. Just look at the others. As far as we can see, few people can hold on for more than 3 minutes. You held on for 2 minutes. This is your strength. Suya added, but the girl passed. The village leader gave a hollow laugh. That's a genius. On the way here, we saw many people sigh and leave. Today, I'm afraid there are no less than 1,000 people coming to sign up. But how many people have entered in total? There were only 2 of them. Do you know what this means? Not only the village leader and Suya were thinking about this problem. Many people who came to sign up, including those from the 3 academies, were also thinking about this problem. The first academy, the principal's office. After hearing the news, Wu Junwei pondered and said, The Thug Academy still adheres to its usual style of only accepting real geniuses. But they don't know that the more they do this, the greater the price they will pay in the future. A teacher asked, President, do we need to make corresponding changes to our enrollment plan this year? Wu Junwei shook his head. Just a little bit. By the way, recruit all the people from the Thug Academy who can hold on for 3 or 4 minutes. The teacher was surprised. President, there are less than 50 such people in total. Wu Junhui replied, Nonsense, of course not. Do you really think those who can hold on for 3 or 4 minutes are useless? As for the others, we'll follow the enrollment plan of previous years. Su Tianji of the Second Academy sneered. Needless to say, Wu Junwei must have started snatching people. Among the people eliminated by the Thug Academy, as long as they can hold on for 2 minutes, we'll recruit them. Baikongi still doesn't understand. What's the point of just recruiting some geniuses? No matter how talented they are, they're just a few students. Once he dies midway, the loss won't be small. Chu Mingxue from the Third Academy had the same thought as Su Tianji. Anyone who could last until the second breath would be killed. Why did they open an academy? Just to recruit geniuses? No. The 3 major academies were the backbone of cultivating talent. The Thug Academy was not a school at all. How could they be afraid of a few people? The Thug Academy. The girl recovered from her injuries and said to Han Fei, Thank you, senior brother Han Fei. Zhang Xuanyu came over. Are you okay? I used too much strength just now. Don't mind me. The girl replied, Hello, senior brother Zhang. It's my duty. This is the assessment. Zhang Xuanyu grinned. Girl, what's your name? When Han Fei heard this, he kicked Zhang Xuanyu. Her mother is still here. Zhang Xuanyu was speechless. I asked for your name. Until now, I still don't know junior sister's name. My name is Ling Yuan, and my spiritual beast is a basalt conch. Han Fei didn't know what a basalt conch was, but a basalt conch usually had strong defensive power. Just now, he could tell that even though this girl was spitting out mouthfuls of blood, she was still able to withstand it. Old Bai closed the stall and said, "Lu Renquang, come and carry the money back. Xiao Bai, invite the guests in. Han Fei, your punishment period is not over yet. Go cook. Zhang Xuanyu, take the junior brothers and junior sisters to build tree houses." Old Bai felt that he had arranged everything in order, but he didn't know that Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan looked at each other. Shouldn't a student's vocation be to cultivate, cook, build tree houses? Luo Xiaobai walked forward obediently. "Grandpa and this auntie, please come with me." Zhang Xuanyu snapped his fingers and said, "Let's go. I'll show you the environment of our Thug Academy. It's quite beautiful and the key is tranquil." Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan looked curious. Following Zhang Xuanyu and the others to the living area, the two of them were dumbfounded. There were 5 tree houses hanging on the trees. Not far below the tree houses was the kitchen. At this moment, Han Fei was taking out a plate ray. The show cut the plate ray into many pieces with a hua 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 sound. He waved his hand in the air, and a pool of water began to wash the plate ray. This series of means could be said to be done in one go, and the two newcomers were dumbfounded. How could such a powerful ability be used to cook? Zhang Xuanyu said, "Don't just stand there. We have to finish setting up the treehouse before Han Fei finishes cooking. Quang Quang, go cut a few big trees." Chu Jinan, Ling Yuan. Chapter 246. After a while, the 2 treehouses had taken shape. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan climbed up and down, feeling very excited. This was different from the entrance assessment. During the entrance assessment, Han Fei and the others were like 5 devils sitting there, scaring all of them. But at this moment they found that these people were very skinny. 2 hours later, everyone sat down around the big round table. This table had just been built. Otherwise, it wouldn't be easy for 12 people to sit down. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan naturally sat next to their grandfather and mother. Chu Jinan's grandfather looked gratified. "Teachers and students, please take care of my Nan. Xiao Zhan said generously, "Grandpa, don't worry. No one dares to bully them in our Thug Academy." Ling Yuan's mother also thanked her. Yuan, listen to the teachers and senior brothers and sisters in the future, okay?" Ling Yuan nodded lightly. "Okay." Xia Xiaochan looked at Ling Yuan and then at Luo Xiaobai. "Huh, I find that their personalities are a bit similar." "I noticed it too." Luo Xiaobai ignored the two of them. "Let's eat." This was the first time that Chu Jinan had eaten such tempting food. Before, he didn't have money. He had never eaten or even heard of the Fish Dragon Hot Pot restaurant. But Ling Yuan, whose family seemed to be quite rich, seemed to have eaten hot pot before. However, when she saw those side dishes, she was too shocked to speak. She had never tasted these delicacies before. Ling Yuan's mother looked at the dishes on the table and secretly took a breath. These had never appeared on the market before. If they appeared, it would probably affect the diet of the entire Blue Sea town. Hot pot was the first goal of the 2 teenagers, but when they ate a mouthful of plate ray, they were both stunned. Especially Chu Jinan, his mouth didn't move. The tender and smooth meat rolled over his tongue, and he felt like a bolt from the blue. Was there such delicious food in this world? So, at the dinner table, Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan couldn't help nibbling at it. Unfortunately, only after a short while, the two of them were steaming and their hair was smoking. Wenren said lightly, "You two, hurry up and find an open space to sit down and cultivate. You can only eat this much for this meal." Although the 2 new students really wanted to eat a few more mouthfuls of fish, the spiritual energy in their bodies was surging violently, so they could only put down their chopsticks and sit on the ground to cultivate. Chu Jinnan's grandfather kept a smile on his face and sighed in his heart. This is what an advanced academy is like. Look, I've worked hard for dozens of years to push my grandson to his current cultivation level. However, just one meal after entering the school was already very beneficial. Ling Yuan's mother didn't say anything, but she was secretly surprised. Sure enough, he had come to the right place this time. Look at what they were eating here. A rare creature in the level 2 fishery. Even if they only ate and drank every day, the effects would be better than cultivating in the other 3 academies. Of course, she didn't know that Han Fei rarely cooked many dishes. When Han Fei was not cooking, Lu Renkuang would cook, or Old Bai and Xiao Zhan would cook. The effect was much worse than Han Fei's. After the meal, Chu Jinnan's grandpa and Ling Yuan's mother left. As for Chu Jinnan and the other 2, they hadn't woken up from their cultivation. Before the 5 of them slipped away, Xiao Zhan suddenly said in a deep voice, "Gather." Han Fei and the others looked shocked. After resting for such a long time, was the 3rd brocade sachet coming? Soon, the 5 of them lined up in a row. Even though Han Fei was usually mischievous, he was very looking forward to it at this moment. Wasn't this what he had been working so hard for? Old Bai stood in front of everyone, and Xiao Zhan and Wenren Yu stood on both sides, expressionless at the moment. Old Bai looked at everyone and slowly said, "So far, you have done well. Ms. Wenren has already told me that you have mastered the most basic fishing skills and have found your contractual spiritual beast. I'm not afraid to say that so far, you are truly standing in the top 100 of the 4 academies of the Blue Sea town." Suddenly, Old Bai sneered. "But is it useful to be in the top 100? Let me tell you, in the 1,000-star city, any boy your age can probably enter the top 100. So, this is not something to be proud of. Not to mention the 1,000-star city, the 36 towns under the jurisdiction of the 1,000-star city are also full of strong masters. The Blue Sea town only ranks about 20th among all the towns." 20th? Zhang Xuanyu was surprised. "Shut up." Xiao Zhan snorted and glared at Zhang Xuanyu, and the latter quickly shut up. Old Bai raised a finger. "Even if each town selects 100 of the most talented teenagers, there will be 3,600 people. Among these people, even if you can beat half of them, you will still have 1,800 competitors. So, are you still proud of yourself?" Han Fei and the others took a breath slightly. "Is this how it works? In this way, it seems that there is really nothing to be proud of. But the point is, we are not proud." Old Bai said with a knowing look, "Geniuses are very conceited, and the strong are very proud. However, let me tell you, this is far from enough. The students of my Thug Academy have beaten those so-called geniuses to the point that they can't even raise their heads. Now, if the Thug Academy doesn't come back, it's fine. But since you have come back, you must continue the brilliant achievements of your predecessors. The Blue Sea town is not your goal, nor are the 36 towns. Your goal is to beat those heavenly talents in the 1,000-star city one day." Old Bai's voice was full of vicissitudes. The words coming out of his mouth were very contagious. Lu Renkuang, Xia Shaochan, and the others next to Han Fei were all excited. Old Bai continued, "Of course, you have to take things one step at a time. The first 2 brocade sachets were just to let you know yourselves, find your strengths and weaknesses, familiarize yourself with combat skills, and strengthen cooperation. That's all. Now, starting from the 3rd brocade sachet, it represents danger and the crisis of death at any time. Do you dare to accept the challenge?" "Yes," everyone said almost in unison. "If it weren't for it, why would we work so hard?" Xiao Zhan took a step out, holding a brocade sachet in his hand, and looked at them coldly. "Since you have accepted the challenge, you must do it. When we were in the level 2 fishery, Ms. Wenren didn't let you enter the fiery mountain. Now you have a chance." Xiao Zhan threw the brocade sachet in his hand to Luo Xiaobai. "Read it." Luo Xiaobai took the brocade sachet, opened it, and looked solemn. Zhang Xuanyu quickly took it from him. After reading it, he was slightly taken aback, and then he also looked solemn. Xia Shaochan grabbed it. What? Fiery mountain, a secret realm? Han Fei took a look and was slightly surprised. No wonder, Wenren, you didn't let them go to the fiery mountain. So the fiery mountain was a secret realm? Sea beasts were rampant there, and almost all the special creatures in the level 2 fishery could be seen there. What they needed to do next was to enter the secret realm with the other 3 academies. Of course, it was not as simple as a trial. There were opportunities in the secret realm. But there was a key problem. The top 100 students of each academy could enter, but there were only 5 of them in their school. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan certainly couldn't go. This meant that there were only 5 people on their side, facing nearly 300 people from the other 3 academies. 5 versus 300, that was fine. But it was written on the brocade sachet that they had to be in the top 10, so that they were qualified to get the 4th brocade sachet. Xiao Zhan sneered. Top 10 is just the minimum requirement. My requirement for you is to be in the top 5. Luo Xiaobai asked, Top 5? Xiao Zhan said coldly, The 5 of you are in the same team. Is there a difference between a single person and a team? Luo Xiaobai nodded. This task was very important. Although they had won 100 consecutive victories in the Blue Sea Arena, only one of the top 10 students of the 3 academies had come out. This time was different. Not only were they outnumbered, but they also had to enter the top 5. This meant that they had to be the strongest. Were the top 10 students of the 3 academies really weak? Not necessarily. At that time, a white-collar Su Yi led a team to injure Xia Shaochan and Zhang Xuanyu. Shi and Lu Renquang were on par with the other party. If it weren't for Han Fei, even if they could win, it would be a narrow victory. Even so, they were still in the top 50 on average. Xiao Zhan immediately roared, Are you confident? Yes. Chapter 247. Xiao Zhan said, You only have 1 month to prepare for this trial. Han Fei, if it's not too much, you can teach Chu Jinan the incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body polishing. Although he has become a fishing master, his body is even weaker than a level 7 fisher. Take care of junior brother. No problem. Of course, it wasn't a problem. He had been to the library a lot. All the combat skills and classics of the Thug Academy were open to them. Why wouldn't he teach them? Wenren Yu also said, Little Bai, take care of Ling Yuan these days. When Chu Jinan's physique improves, he'll swap with Han Fei. Okay. Old Bai left. Xiao Zhan glanced at Lu Renquang and Zhang Xuanyu one last time. You two, hurry up and cultivate. He's still too weak. Lu Renquang. Zhang Xuanyu. After Xiao Zhan left, Zhang Xuanyu smiled bitterly and said, Not bad. I can already feel that I'm improving at a godly rate. Fei, tell me, how did you manage to break through so quickly even though you have a level 4 spiritual heritage? Han Fei blinked and said, Although it's still level 4, its level has improved a little. Everyone looked at Han Fei speechlessly. The latter's expression did not change. He thought to himself, Aren't all of you growth-type spirit veins? Why are you looking at me? Zhang Xuanyu shook his head, not wanting to talk to Han Fei. It was really tiring. He still had the cheek to call himself a low-grade spiritual vein? Lower your head. In the past, I should have known that this guy would lie with his eyes open. Zhang Xuanyu put his arm around Lu Renquang's shoulder. Fatty, now we are the only ones left. Lu Renquang pushed Zhang Xuanyu's hand away. At most, I will be able to break through in a few days. Zhang Xuanyu. An hour later, Han Fei went to Xiao Zhan and asked for the method of copying jade slips. When he came back, only Chu Jinan was there. Everyone else was gone. Where are the others? Senior brother Han Fei, the senior brothers and senior sisters have gone to cultivate. Senior sister Luo left with Ling Yuan. I didn't see senior sister Xiaochan. Han Fei looked at Chu Jinan up and down. Yes. Your body can't continue to break through. With that, Han Fei threw the copied incomplete monograph on 108 Ways of Body Polishing to Chu Jinan. I'll give you a month to practice the 108 postures on this combat skill. Don't ask for small success, but you must complete it. Don't miss a single pose. Chu Jinan looked serious. Since the Thug Academy was so strong, their combat skills must be very powerful. Thus, he nodded firmly. Yes, senior brother. Han Fei said solemnly. Don't make a breakthrough before your physique is as strong as that of a junior fishing master. You need to eat your fill every day. What you need right now isn't just spiritual qi, but more energy. You need a large amount of energy to support your cultivation of this battle skill. With that said, Han Fei took out 7 or 8 bottles of iron fish body polishing fluid and threw them over. With your current physique, you can only take a sip at a time. Follow me. Holding the jade slip and the iron fish body polishing fluid, Chu Jinan wondered if senior brother was the one who taught combat skills in the 4th Academy. However, he had seen Han Fei's battle. During the assessment, some people, including Xia Shaochan, had lasted for 2 seconds. However, when facing Han Fei, no one had been able to last for more than 1 second. Han Fei took Chu Jinan to the cave where he usually cultivated and said solemnly, I will come here to check once a day. If you encounter a movement that you can't complete, repeat the previous movements until you can continue the subsequent movement. Yes, senior brother. Han Fei left irresponsibly and strolled out of the school gate. Suddenly, Han Fei slightly leaned to the side and the instant knife appeared in his hand. Clank! Han Fei was speechless. Xia Shaochan, it's you again. Are you free? Xia Shaochan appeared from the stealth state and asked curiously, I just made a breakthrough, so I can't stabilize my realm in a short time. What about you? Where are you going? Han Fei put away the knife, looked at Xia Shaochan in a traditional Chinese costume, and couldn't help swallowing. I'm going to the Linglong Tower. Xia Shaochan's eyes lit up. Are you going to buy clothes? Han Fei frowned. What clothes? Can the clothes of the Linglong Tower be better than yours? Xia Shaochan replied, I don't care. I'm going to. By the way, tie my hair rope. I don't know how to. Han Fei took the red ribbon hair rope from Xia Shaochan's hand, grabbed her hair, and said while tying her hair, I'm going to buy some refining materials. But you, don't go there for no reason. The Linglong Tower is a scam. Xia Shaochan snorted. I have money. Han Fei didn't bother to talk. Where did you get your money? Isn't your money mine? Linglong Tower. As soon as Han Fei arrived, someone recognized him. It was not because Han Fei spent a lot of money in the Linglong Tower, but because the clothes designed by Han Fei were too beautiful. Of course, at this moment, no one looked at Han Fei at all. Everyone was staring at Xia Shaochan. Han Fei looked helpless. When she walked all the way from the outside, Xia Shaochan caused a sensation. In addition to her beautiful appearance, the clothes she was wearing were also very fashionable. Along the way, dozens of people ran up to ask where this clothes were made. Was it a new style of the Linglong Tower? Yu Ling, the great tailor of the Linglong Tower, rushed out as soon as she heard that Han Fei had come with gorgeous clothes. When she saw the clothes Xia Shaochan was wearing, she couldn't calm down anymore and her breathing became rapid. She couldn't wait to touch them. Yu Ling asked, Han Fei, are you selling this dress? Before Han Fei answered, Xia Shaochan shook her head. No, I won't sell it. Han Fei nodded. Yes, I won't sell it. Yu Ling was very disappointed. After all, the Linglong Tower was a prestigious place. If they robbed her like the Black River Chamber of Commerce, their reputation would be ruined. Even so, this didn't stop Yu Ling from staring at Xia Shaochan, as if trying to find inspiration from her clothes. Han Fei said to her via voice transmission, I told you that you shouldn't have come. Look, you're being stared at like a jellyfish. Xia Shaochan glared at Han Fei. You are a jellyfish. Your whole family are jellyfish. Han Fei was annoyed. We are here to buy things. What are you looking at? Where is your service attitude? Yu Ling smiled. What do you want to see this time? Han Fei asked. Do you have dragon tendons? Yu Ling. The waiters. They were all speechless. Are you King crazy? Why don't you ask if there are dragon tendons? Why don't you ask if there are dragon meat? Yu Ling said, Brother Han Fei, don't joke like this. Han Fei snorted. Then do you have python tendons above level 40? Yu Ling looked at Han Fei with a complicated look. Han Fei, even if there are you sure you want to buy them? Han Fei looked around. Are you going to talk to me here? Yu Ling's face changed slightly, and her tone and demeanor changed. Please come with me. Han Fei and the curious Xia Shaochan went upstairs to the 8th floor. Yu Ling explained, after all, the Blue Sea town is just a town. There can't be anything particularly magical. However, we do have a few python tendons above level 40 in the Linglong Tower. However, their price is not cheap, even not cheaper than ordinary spiritual weapons. That's hundreds of thousands of mid-quality spiritual stones. Han Fei said like a rich man, I know whether to buy them or not and how to buy them. You just need to show me. It was the first time that Han Fei had come to the upper floor of the Linglong Tower. Yu Ling explained that the 5th, 6th, and 7th floors were all magic treasure floors, and usually few people could afford them. As for the floors above the 7th floor, people might not come here even once in several months. Han Fei and the others came here for the first time this month. When they entered the 8th floor, Han Fei saw that half of the entire floor was weapons, and all of them were spiritual weapons. Some spiritual weapons, even placed in boxes, couldn't hide their brilliance. Han Fei noticed a long spear hanging on the 8th floor at first glance. Although Han Fei never used a spear, this spear didn't stop him from attracting his attention. The long spear was crimson, and from time to time, he could see the shadow of a coiling dragon on the spear. The tip of the spear, which was brighter than a diamond, was shining no matter from which angle. This kind of brightness directly stimulated the eyes of every customer who came to the 8th floor. Yu Ling said with a smile, This red flame dragon spear is the treasure of the Linglong Tower, a high-quality spiritual weapon, with a level 44 exotic creature, red flame python, sealed inside. In front of it, ordinary weapons were like paper, unable to withstand a single blow. Its price is only a mere 2 million mid-quality pearls. With the current financial resources of your fish dragons, you can also afford it. If you want to buy it, I can deduct 100,000 mid-quality pearls from you in private. Han Fei swallowed. He couldn't afford a ball at all. 2 million mid-quality pearls? Am I crazy? By this spear? Huh! Xia Shaochan had run to a cabinet and grabbed 2 daggers. Show. Han Fei's eyelids twitched. Let go. Chapter 248. However, in the next moment, Han Fei immediately activated a spiritual energy protective cover and a cold light pierced straight at him. Crack! Han Fei was already hiding. Xia Shaochan picked up the pair of knives. He knew what Xia Shaochan was going to do the moment he shoved her. At this moment, the spiritual energy protective cover on Han Fei's body was shattered, and his belly was severely injured. Shuchit was cut by more than an inch. Xia Shaochan didn't even use her full strength. Han Fei said angrily, Xia Shaochan, give me a dagger. Put the show back. As Han Fei waved his hand, the wound immediately stopped bleeding, and the skin quickly healed. Yu Ling was dumbfounded by this scene. Aren't you all good classmates? Isn't this your girlfriend? Is this how you fall in love? Yu Ling couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Young people these days really knew how to have fun. Even dating was so exciting. Xia Shaochan reluctantly put the dagger in her hand away. The show put it down. How much is the show? Yu Ling smiled and said, That's a pair of Lan Pa Bai. The show was only an inferior grade spiritual weapon, and there were 2 rare crayfish above level 30 sealed in it. Obviously, it was much cheaper than the red fire dragon spear, only costing 400,000 mid-quality pearls. Think about it? Xia Xiaochan looked at Han Fei eagerly, and the latter blurted out, "No." Xia Xiaochan snorted. "If you don't want to buy it, I will. I have buy high." Han Fei's expression changed slightly, and he immediately said, "I'll make it for you when I get back." Xia Xiaochan blinked her eyes slyly and said, "Forget it, I won't buy it. What the F***ck show is just SOSO. I'm not interested." At this time, Xia Xiaochan's voice sounded in his head, "How many blue sea wandering dragon bones can you refine? I just want two, the more exquisite the better." At that time, each of the 5 of them had a blue sea wandering dragon bone, but now they were all dead. However, they didn't know that refining weapons required spiritual energy. It wasn't easy for them to accumulate so much spiritual energy, so how could it be easy for them? Of course, the blue sea wandering dragon bones must not be exposed. Otherwise, wouldn't they be telling the Linglong Tower that they had found the body of the blue sea wandering dragon? The name of the blue sea town came from this blue sea wandering dragon. Han Fei took a deep breath. "I want to see the python tendon. Take it out." Yuling was a little surprised. Faced with so many treasures, Han Fei didn't look at them at all and only wanted the python tendon. Could it be that he really wanted to go back and refine it himself? However, thinking about it, it was possible. Maybe one of the 3 teachers of the 4th Academy wanted to refine weapons. Soon, 3 boxes were placed on the counter by the waiter. Among them, one was scarlet like fire, one was icy blue like jade, and one was black like glass. Han Fei raised his eyebrows and information popped up in his eyes. The first one was the tendon of the red flame python, which was used to make the red flame dragon spear. Its characteristic was that it had an extremely high internal temperature and was extremely resistant to cold. The second one was the ice serpent. Its characteristics were similar to the blue sea wandering dragon bone. It was very cold and had a strong resistance to heat. The third one, to be precise, was not a python, but the tendon of a purple sand eel. Its characteristics were that it was extremely tough, but it contained a trace of sand poison. Han Fei directly skipped the first one. Just because it had ice and fire, it was not a good thing. When the 2 characteristics of cold and heat offset each other, even if a spiritual weapon was forged, it would only be an ordinary spiritual weapon. At least, Han Fei couldn't rely on the demon purification pot to gamble on this thing. As for the second ice serpent tendon, Han Fei hesitated and decided to give up. Was he going to freeze himself to death? Han Fei closed the box containing the red flame python tendon and the ice serpent tendon, pushed it back, and patted the counter. "How much is this?" Yuling was slightly taken aback. Han Fei actually chose the tendon of the purple sand eel, which surprised her. Just from the looks alone, the other 2 were even more visually impactful than this one. Yuling took a deep look at Han Fei. "You have a good eye." Han Fei quickly raised his hand. "Stop. Don't flatter me or raise the price. I just bought it because it doesn't look good." Yuling was stunned. "Why do you have so many tricks up your sleeve? Then why don't you choose the tendon of the red flame python or the tendon of the ice serpent? It's only 200,000 mid-quality pearls." The corner of Han Fei's mouth twitched. "That's too much. The 2 daggers just now were only 400,000 mid-quality pearls. Is your tendon so expensive?" "Yes, it's too expensive." Yuling shook her head with a smile. "The tendon of this purple sand eel is 300,000 mid-quality pearls. Its cold-resistant ability is not as good as the tendon of the red flame python or the tendon of the ice serpent. However, it is very balanced and far more resilient than those 2. 300,000 mid-quality pearls, no bargaining. Of course, if you want to exchange it for clothes, these 3 are free and I can give them to you." Han Fei chuckled. "No. But I can exchange it for other things. Doesn't your Linglong Tower accept treasures? Of course, if you can take out something of equal value, it's also possible. Han Fei opened his hand and a moon-watching pearl appeared. This was the only moon-watching eel they had caught in the level 2 fishery in the past 2 months. Because it was rare, the moon-watching pearl was definitely not cheap. Yuling exclaimed in surprise. Moon-watching pearl? I haven't seen this thing for a long time. However, it's not worth 300,000 mid-quality pearls. I can give you 50,000 mid-quality pearls. Han Fei took out another soul resistance pearl. What about this? Yuling glanced at Han Fei in surprise. Have you been to the piercing electricity zone? Not bad. It's very good that you can get a soul resistance pearl. However, its comprehensive evaluation is not as good as the moon-watching pearl. I will give you 40,000 mid-quality pearls. With a swish, Han Fei took out 7 or 8 soul resistance pearls at once. Is this enough? Yuling felt a little ridiculous. Did you rob the piercing electricity zone? So many soul resistance pearls? Xia Xiaochan said, don't sell them all. Leave 2 for Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan. There are only 2 of them. When we went there were 5 of us. Han Fei replied, I know. There are still a dozen of them. It's not a big deal. Xia Xiaochan's eyes lit up. Then let's buy something else? No, this is not just for the 2 of us. There are 3 of them. It's not appropriate for us to use them all. You've used them. I haven't used them yet. Then why don't we exchange them for money? What do you like? You can buy it yourself. Xia Xiaochan thought for a while. Forget it. We don't have sea-swallowing seashells. They take up too much space. Just make them for me. You just need to make the show. You can have my share. After chatting with Xia Xiaochan, Han Fei counted 8 soul resistance pearls and gave them to Yuling. What about the moon-watching pearl? I only have 1 moon-watching pearl. Maybe it will be useful in the future. Yuling was speechless. So you just took it out to show off, didn't you? This is not the sea. Otherwise I'll kill you. Han Fei put away the purple sand eel tendon and then asked casually, Do you have pills here? Yuling smiled. Of course, we have a lot. A lot? Do many people buy them? Yuling shook her head helplessly. Few people you see on the street will buy them. However, those who go to the level 3 fishery will buy them. Many people in the level 3 fishery will buy them. What do you have? How much? Yuling clapped her hands and soon someone came with a plate. Yuling swayed her body and smiled. The Linglong Tower doesn't sell low-quality pills. The worst quality is the Spirit Rising pill. Han Fei quickly learned about the so-called pills and found that there were 3 main types. One was to quickly restore spiritual energy, one was to quickly heal injuries, and one was to quickly repair spiritual energy consumption. After reading it, Han Fei immediately lost interest. What the hell is this? They were not even as good as his divine healing technique. Besides, he didn't need the first and second type. As for the third type, he didn't know when it would be useful. Han Fei frowned. Only these? Yuling wondered, are these not enough? Han Fei gestured. Are there any special kinds of pills? For example, to help you break through? To help you temper your bones? To widen your meridians? Yes, but very few. A spiritual pill that can temper your body costs at least 10,000 mid-quality pearls. Do you want to buy those? Yuling thought Han Fei wouldn't need those. After all, for most geniuses, they were reluctant to use pills to improve themselves. Although in theory, the harm to the body was very small, they were still unwilling to do so. Besides, these kinds of pills were very expensive. When Han Fei heard that the starting price was 10,000, he thought to himself, bye-bye. Are you robbing me? Chapter 249. On the way back, Xia Xiaochan asked curiously, Han Fei, did you learn to refine spiritual weapons because you had a special opportunity? Hush. Although this matter had been tacitly understood, Xia Xiaochan still felt uncomfortable. God knows why Han Fei could even refine spiritual weapons. Han Fei lowered his voice and said, This is a secret. I won't tell ordinary people. Xia Shaochan responded in a low voice, I won't tell others either. Han Fei rolled his eyes. Actually, I have a master, a very powerful one. I haven't cultivated since I was 8 to 12 years old. I just learned these strange things from him. Afterwards, he finished preaching and left. After that, I began to cultivate. Xia Shaochan had heard about Han Fei's story. It was said that 2 months before the fishing trial, he was only a level 2 fisher. In 2 months, he reached level 7? Han Fei said, Don't tell others. Xia Shaochan thought that Han Fei had no reason to lie. Otherwise, he couldn't explain it. Xia Shaochan asked, Then where is your master now? Han Fei said solemnly, When he left, he said he was going to the infinite sea. I didn't know where it was, so I said I would go to the infinite sea to find him when I grew up. Who knew the infinite sea was so big? Xia Shaochan was a little confused. To the infinite sea? How capable does he have to be? The two of them whispered about this topic all the way. In the end, Han Fei managed to fool them. At the same time, he thought to himself, No, I have to find a way to learn refining techniques in the future. Otherwise, if I have to refine in front of others one day, I'll be exposed. Thug Academy. Han Fei took a look at Chu Jinan and found that this guy looked as if he had just been fished out of the water. However, he had only made 3 postures so far. Plop. When Chu Jinan saw Han Fei, he directly lay on the ground, panting. Senior brother. Han Fei pretended to be serious and said, Yes. Don't ask for fast, but steady. Continue to work hard. Yes, senior brother. Han Fei ran into a cave and secretly hid in Forge the Universe. The Supreme Dragon Chief had only used less than a third of it, but it had consumed a lot of spirit chi. He threw the dragon head, the purple sand eel, and the fire element crystal into the demon purification pot. The spiritual spring in Forge the Universe dropped another few centimeters. Han Fei estimated that it would cost at least 70,000 points of spiritual energy. Half an hour later, a white longbow appeared in front of Han Fei. Data appeared in his eyes. Name: Blue Sea Wandering Dragon. Bow. Introduction: Forged from the bone of the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon. The bow has the intent of extreme coldness, and the string has the sound of breaking souls. When the string is broken, it will turn into purple sand and reform the bowstring. Low-grade spiritual weapon, soulless, recastable, unrefined. In terms of quality, it was almost the same as the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers. The main difference was that the bow was larger and required more materials than the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers. Therefore, the amount of spiritual chi consumed was relatively higher. If the string was broken, it would turn into purple sand. Could it be reformed? Doesn't that mean that this string will never break? Han Fei held the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon bow and played with it a few times. He pulled the bow, and the bowstring was pulled into a half-arc with the force of 1,000 pounds. As spiritual energy was injected into it, a spiritual arrow appeared. Han Fei tried many times and found that the basic cost of the arrow was 200 points of spiritual energy. Less than this number, the arrow couldn't be condensed. Bam! The arrow was shot out and blasted a big pit on the ground with great power. Han Fei put away the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon bow with a smile and reappeared in the cave. Seeing that the cave was still closed, he walked out. While walking, he hummed a tune. With a snap of his fingers, dozens of Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers appeared. Then, the number increased one by one. When the number increased to 15, some Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers fell to the ground. Han Fei tried several times and finally found that he could only control 12 Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers at the same time. While Han Fei was humming, he saw a vine emerging from the ground. Swish, swish, swish. The vine was cut into 7 or 8 pieces in the blink of an eye. Han Fei asked, Xiao Bai, why did you learn from Xia Shaochan? Han Fei looked up and found that Luo Xiaobai and Ling Yuan were hanging on the tree. Yes, many big trees were strung up by vines, and Ling Yuan was lying on a vine, panting. Yo! What is this style? Why don't you practice on the ground? Why are you doing these fancy things on the tree? Luo Xiaobai nodded. Train. Han Fei couldn't figure out what kind of training method this was, so he shook his head. Then continue. I'm going back to the treehouse to sleep. Okay. Then Han Fei whistled and walked leisurely to the treehouse. The 12 daggers around him were put into various shapes from time to time, sometimes as a shield, sometimes as a hole, and sometimes as a spiral. Han Fei found that the million knife art had so many uses, but unfortunately, it was extremely difficult to control. His spiritual power should not be bad, right? But he could only control 12 daggers. Ling Yuan wondered, Senior sister, is senior brother Han Fei so leisurely? Luo Xiaobai replied, You only saw his lazy look, but you haven't seen what he looks like when he really fights. My vine array can't suppress him at all. Ling Yuan looked at Han Fei's back and couldn't help but feel a little discouraged. Luo Xiaobai was too strong, but she could easily beat her in the same realm as Han Fei. Then what about Han Fei? Could she hold on for 5 minutes in his hands? In the treehouse, Han Fei was wholeheartedly visualizing the god-scaring painting. Half a month passed just like that. In addition to eating, he slept. In the past half a month, Chu Jinnan's physique had risen sharply, from a level 7 fisher's physique to a level 9 peak level. Of course, it was still far from his own realm, but this didn't prevent his strength from growing rapidly, far faster than Ling Yuan's. Of course, Ling Yuan had also broken through from a level 9 peak level to a junior fishing master. In terms of the comprehensive combat power of the two sides, Ling Yuan was stronger than Chu Jinnan. Nearly a month later, Han Fei suddenly perked up. He had memorized the second piece of the map. At the moment he successfully remembered it, his spiritual perception suddenly expanded to a range of 50 meters, directly reaching a perception range of 100 meters. Suddenly, Han Fei sat up with a strange look. Isn't this too fast? At this moment, Han Fei felt that his thoughts were very clear, and some things that he couldn't figure out before seemed to be straightened out. This seemed to be because his perception had been strengthened. Even if Han Fei looked at an ordinary piece of wood, he could see the fine grain on the wood grain, which gave him a sense of beauty created by nature. Han Fei stretched out his hand, and the blue sea wandering dragon daggers floated in the air. To Han Fei's surprise, this time there were 20 daggers floating in the air. Letting the daggers surround him, he didn't feel as obscure as before. This scene made Han Fei tremble all over. This god-scaring painting could actually improve people's spiritual power? Han Fei's breathing became rapid. If he kept practicing the god-scaring painting, he would only be closer and closer to the real million knife art. Imagine, what would it be like to be surrounded by 10,000 daggers? However, after a while, Han Fei smiled bitterly. In this month, he could only remember a small piece of the god-scaring painting, but there were 1,000 pieces. Even if he did nothing but focused on practicing the god-scaring painting, it would take him more than 80 years. Forget it, it's good enough that my spiritual power can grow. Let's take it one step at a time. What Han Fei didn't know was that if his thoughts were known by others, they would probably smash his head. Even Bai Kongyi would be amazed if his spiritual perception increased by 50 meters in a month. Han Fei got up and went to the cave. When he arrived at the cave, he found that Xia Shaochan was standing here and commanding. Okay, don't suppress your realm anymore. Make a breakthrough. Xia Shaochan looked back. Well, I've done all 108 postures. I can't suppress it anymore. Han Fei nodded. Then make a breakthrough. Xia Shaochan suddenly exclaimed, Huh? Why do I feel that you are a little different? Han Fei smiled. Am I more handsome? Xia Shaochan said thoughtfully, Humph, don't be so smug. Let's go and cook. Let's go. Chapter 250. At dinner time, Han Fei prepared a table full of dishes. 10 people sat around the table, talking and laughing. Xiao Zhan said, although Chu Jinnan's physique is still a little weak, it's much better than when he first came in. Not bad. Chu Jinnan replied, thank you, teacher. Thank you, senior brother Han Fei. This is the effect of the incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body tempering. Xiao Zhan, yes. Just thank your senior brother Han Fei. This combat skill is unique to him. Chu Jinnan was stunned. Isn't this the combat skill of the school? Chu Jinnan hurriedly wanted to thank Han Fei, but Han Fei curled his lips. Stop it. Let's eat. Luo Xiaobai said, Ling Yuan should have learned from you. However, I saw that Chu Jinnan had been cultivating, so I didn't look for you. In the future. Old Bai said leisurely, you really have to wait for the future. Tomorrow, Xiao Zhan will take you out to sea. Han Fei and the others were all stunned. I've been back for more than a month, and I'm finally going out to sea again? When Xiao Zhan wasn't in class, he was always smiling. At this moment, he smiled and said, tomorrow, the top 100 students of the 4 academies will set off for the Flame Mountain. Prepare yourselves. This time, your target is the top 5. Lu Renquang muttered, isn't it the top 10? Wenren Yu threw a little white shrimp on Lu Renquang's head. That's the bottom line. Zhang Xuanyu asked, what's the rule for the top 5? Are we fighting for the first place in the Blue Sea town? Bai Kongyi sneered. Fight for first place? What they were fighting for was a qualification. All you need to know is that this is a real life and death match. However, it was best not to kill if possible. Although we're not on good terms with the 3 academies, those who can enter the fiery mountain this time are the backbone of the younger generation of the Blue Sea town. Of course, if someone wants to surround and kill you, then you don't have to hold back. Kill whoever comes. Chu Jinnan and Ling Yuan felt their blood freeze when they heard that. They did not know what kind of place the Flame Mountain was. However, the elites of the 3 academies had all come out, and they were even allowed to kill each other. Just to fight for a qualification? Han Fei asked leisurely, is there a reward? Bai Kongyi chuckled. What kind of rewards are you talking about? The Blazing Mountain was full of opportunities. If you want the reward, go get it yourself. Wenren Yu added, don't think that you're the only ones who have fated opportunities. Which student who could enter the top 100 of the various academies didn't have any fortuitous encounters? The ocean was an endless treasure trove, and there were too many opportunities in it. You have to know that you should take opportunities when you can, and give up when you can't. This is the lesson that countless people have learned with their lives. Xia Xiaochan asked, Teacher, how about the piercing electricity zone and the deep-sea jungle? Wenren Yu smirked. Almost. Xia Xiaochan was relieved, but she didn't notice the cunning gleam in Wenren Yu's eyes. Seeing this scene, Han Fei frowned. Was there something else? The next day, at dawn, the 5 of them had breakfast and followed Xiao Zhan out. At the school gate, Ling Yuan looked at the back of the crowd and asked, Teacher, where is the Flame Mountain? Is it dangerous? Wenren Yu said lightly, you are not qualified to know. When you become a great fishing master, ask me again. Ling Yuan trembled. A great fishing master? It felt like it was still very far away. Chu Jinnan was still waving at their backs, but Wenren Yu blocked his sight. From today on, you 2 start to practice together and try to become intermediate fishing masters before they come back. Zhang Xuanyu put his arm around Han Fei's shoulder and said, Fei, do you think the Flame Mountain will be very hot? Do we have to carry the dragon bones on our backs to prevent being burned to death? Han Fei sneered. If you are burned to death, the 3 academies will probably be burned to the ground. We won't even have a chance to explore it. Lu Renquang secretly touched the ground. Do we have enough barbecue? Xia Xiaochan complained. Are you stupid? How can we eat it underwater? Lu Renquang said, just a few bites. Luo Xiaobai said, okay, stop it. There are 305 people entering the Flame Mountain this time, including us. The competition for opportunities inside must be very fierce. Xiao Zhan walked in front, listening to the 5 of them whispering, and chuckled in his heart. You can talk now. You can't have such a good time. They didn't meet the 3 academies. Maybe Han Fei and the others came a little early. So, they set off for the Flame Mountain first. Because Han Fei's white fishing boat was very fast, when they arrived at the Flame Mountain, there was still no one on the vast sea. Han Fei's eyes lit up. No one is here yet. I guess they won't come for a few hours. Shall we have another hot pot? Lu Renkuang rubbed his hands. Okay, we can't just wait for them, right? Xia Xiaochan nodded. I don't mind. But this time, let's change the taste. Isn't it said that most of the rare creatures in the level 2 fishery gather here in the Flame Mountain? Han Fei plunged the hook into the sea. After a while, as he raised the rod, a red lobster more than 5 meters long broke out of the water. The moment the lobster came out of the water, 2 phantoms of pincers tens of meters long instantly clamped at Han Fei. Bam! Bam! With 2 punches of spiritual energy, the pincers were shattered and the lobster flopped on the deck, clinging to the deck with its melon seeds. Before it attacked again, Lu Renkuang plunged a knife into its head. Lu Renkuang smacked his lips. Shall we eat lobster hot pot this time? Han Fei shook his head. Let's try something new this time. Lobster in sauce. After a full hour, when Han Fei and the others were having a good time, they saw hundreds of fishing boats descending from the sky above their heads. The people from the 3 academies came. The 3 presidents led the team in person, and the heavenly talents of the 3 academies were all dumbfounded when they saw the scene on the sea. Are they from the 4th academy? Just 5 people? And they are still eating and drinking here, someone swallowed. It smells so good. Someone stared at the 5 of them with excitement in his eyes. They had heard that the Thug Academy was full of geniuses, but they were not convinced. They had never fought them before. Why would they be convinced? On a fishing boat, a boy in white said solemnly, "Attention, if there are less than 10 people, run away if you encounter this group of people." Hey, Su Yebai, when did you become so timid? Su Yebai was the one who fought with Han Fei in the Blue Sea Arena. Although he was a manipulator, he was ranked 8th on the top 100 list of the 3 academies in the Blue Sea town. Su Yebai sneered. You can try to mess with them. Because he had fought them before, Su Yebai knew the strength of these people very well. At that time, Han Fei and the others were only junior great fishing masters. What about now? At a glance, none of them seemed to be weaker than him. Xiao Zhan, why isn't Old Bai here? Su Tianji, the president of the 2nd Academy, sneered. He didn't like Old Bai. Seeing that the 4th Academy only sent Xiao Zhan here, he couldn't help but look down on him. Xiao Zhan looked at him with a smile. I don't think the president needs to come in person for such a trivial matter, Wu Junwei scoffed. How dare you? Xiao Zhan, do you think you are qualified to be on an equal footing with us? Xiao Zhan stretched out his hand and a spear made of spiritual energy appeared. Swish! The spear was thrown, and wherever it passed, the waves burst, the sea was torn apart, and the spear was surrounded by waves. Wu Junwei's face changed drastically, and she drew out a long sword from her back. Her momentum seemed to be no less than that of Xiao Zhan's spear. Boom! A semicircular pit tens of meters in diameter appeared on the surface of the water. The spear disappeared and Wu Junwei's long sword was knocked away. All the students were dumbfounded. Including the students on the top 100 list of the 3 academies, they all took a breath. Too strong. They couldn't resist such a powerful attack at all. Wu Junwei frowned and was extremely shocked. Has Xiao Zhan become so strong? Xiao Zhan was still smiling. How about it? Am I qualified enough? At this moment they were almost done eating. The big lobster had already been half eaten. Zhang Xuanyu asked, How are we going to block this attack? Xia Xiaochan responded, Only a fool would block it. Just dodge it. Luo Xiaobai muttered, Death substitute. Lu Renkuang said, If all the shields work together, we should be able to block it. Zhang Xuanyu, am I the only one who can't block it? But that's right, I just have to hide. I have the golden water silkworm, it's fast. Han Fei agreed. No, just run. Xiao Zhan had proven his strength. Then, he threw a flame-shaped token to each of them. Xiao Zhan replied, This is a fiery mountain token. Everyone who goes down gets one. Snatch it for me, the more the better. Chapter 251. Han Fei played with the fiery mountain token in his hand and squeezed it hard, only to find that it was as hard as iron and far harder than ordinary weapons. Teacher, is this a magic weapon? Xiao Zhan said. It's not a magic treasure, but it can be used as a key. As for the specifics, you will know when you go down. Remember, there are many fortuitous encounters in the blazing mountain. Don't try to obtain all of them, that's impossible. Every time the blazing mountain opened, it could only remain open for a maximum of 7 days. If you don't come out after 7 days, you'll have to wait for another 3 years. Luo Xiaobai asked in surprise. The fiery mountain is a closed secret realm. Xiao Zhan nodded. Yes. In history, no one had ever come out of the blazing mountain when it opened. In other words, if you don't come out in 7 days, you'll definitely die. The 5 of them were shocked. 7 days, only 7 days? Lu Renkuang was stunned. Teacher, what if someone is waiting for us at the exit? Xiao Zhan replied, Don't worry. There were many exits in the blazing mountain, all suspended in midair. They can block 1 or 2, but they can't block 5 or 6. Lu Renkuang quickly patted his chest and took a long breath. I was so scared. I thought there was only 1 exit. Otherwise, it would be terrible. At this moment, Chu Mingxue, the president of the 3rd Academy, said, We have no time to lose. It doesn't matter if Xiao Zhan or Old Bai comes. Since everyone is here, let's begin. Wu Junwei, I'm fine with it. Su Tianji, anytime. Xiao Zhan, as you wish. Then Xiao Zhan said to the 5 of them, This is the first time you've faced death since you came to the academy. No one will be your escort this time. Life and death are up to fate. Come out alive. The 5 of them nodded. There was still a long way to go. If they couldn't even pass this test, how could they talk about sweeping the 36 towns? In the next moment, the deans of the 3 academies and Xiao Zhan stepped onto the surface of the sea almost at the same time. Each of them held a red token in their hand. However, unlike the fiery mountain tokens in Han Fei's hands, the tokens in Xiao Zhan's hands had phantoms, which were complex array patterns. The 4 halos stacked on top of each other, and in an instant, the waves surged into the sky. 100-meter-tall water gate rose from the water. In the middle of the water gate, a whirlpool was slowly forming. All the students were watching this scene intently. However, Luo Xiaobai said to everyone telepathically, Attention, we'll go in first. Lie in ambush and snatch a batch of fiery mountain tokens as soon as possible. Everyone was stunned. Was this Luo Xiaobai? How did this girl suddenly become so sinister? Are they starting to play tactics? Luo Xiaobai seemed to know what they were thinking. Our purpose is not only to find opportunities but also to grab a batch of fiery mountain tokens. By then, we'll have the most fiery mountain tokens. At that time, there would definitely be people who would risk their lives to snatch it. There's no need for us to look for them. There will be an endless stream of fiery mountain tokens. Zhang Xuanyu grinned. I really pity those people. We haven't even started, but we've already been tricked. Xia Xiaochan echoed. I think Xiaobai's idea is very good. Since we can snatch it, why not? I have no problem with that. Lu Renkuang replied. It doesn't matter even if I have opinions. But let's do it. A moment later, a whirlpool formed. A black whirlpool with a radius of 20 meters appeared in the 100-meter-tall giant wave. Luo Xiaobai shouted, Let's go! Almost in an instant, a vine appeared on the waists of the 4 of them. At this moment, the vine lifted up and threw the four of them directly into the whirlpool. Not only the four of them, but a large number of students also used their own skills. Some ran wildly in the air, some walked in the air, some held bows, some paved bridges with spiritual plants, some controlled water to make ladders, and some imitated Luo Xiaobai's methods. For a time, all kinds of fancy combat skills appeared. Although this was just the beginning, the whirlpool was hanging at an altitude of 40 or 50 meters. If you didn't have the ability, you wouldn't even be able to enter the gate, let alone snatch opportunities in the secret realm. In midair, the four of them had already reached the edge of the whirlpool, and there were at least 20 people with them. Lu Renquang shouted, "1,000 blades slash!" In an instant, 1,000 knives were waved, causing a burst of curses from behind. "Asshole, these lunatics from the Thug Academy, we haven't even started yet. Damn, after we get in, let's beat them up." Someone shouted, "After we get in, let's join hands and fight the Thug Academy first." At this moment, Han Fei stepped on the vortex and felt a huge suction force. He hurriedly gathered spiritual energy with his other leg and forcibly broke free from the vortex. At the same time, he suddenly pulled Luo Xiaobai up. In that instant, at least 7 or 8 arrows pierced through the air. Since the Thug Academy is blocking our way, don't blame us for being rude. However, to their surprise, dozens of long sabers had appeared in the air at some point. At this moment, all the arrows around Luo Xiaobai were crushed. In the blink of an eye. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. At this moment, the 5 of them gathered. In the blink of an eye, Lu Renquang sheathed his knife, and so did Han Fei. The 5 of them allowed the vortex to swallow them, and in the blink of an eye, they disappeared into the vortex. Damn it. Outside the door, there were still people cursing, but no one attacked each other, because there was no reason. What could a few hundred opponents do now? Could he get the fiery mountain token? Of course, their speed was also slower than Han Fei's. Han Fei only felt that his body was spinning, as if he had entered a big vortex, a little out of control. When his body stopped spinning, Han Fei wanted to send a voice transmission to the others. However, when he looked back, where were they? F***CK. Where's the ambush? Why are they all gone? Han Fei realized that Luo Xiaobai's thinking was too simple. She thought that after passing through the vortex, the 5 of them would still be together, but the result was obviously not like this. The location where they appeared in the secret realm of the fiery mountain was random. The reason why he was so sure was that not only did Han Fei not see Luo Xiaobai and the others, but there was no vortex behind him at all. The area where he was very calm. Confirming this and knowing that the ambush had failed, Han Fei couldn't help but smile. He had been too optimistic just now. He looked around and found that this was a mountain, and the mountain rocks and the ground were covered with ancient and withered corals. There were pieces of shells on the ground, schools of fish swimming 100 meters above his head, seaweed floating dozens of meters around, and several dragon-headed fish wandering. In the distance, it was blurry, but there seemed to be a very high mountain. Han Fei also found that the water temperature here was 20 to 30 degrees Celsius. This made Han Fei a little confused. There was no sunlight here. Was it the temperature of the underground volcano? No. Han Fei found that the visibility in this space was very high. How could there be such a high visibility without a light source? Before Han Fei could think too much, he saw 2 dragon-headed fish rushing at him. "Idiot, are you stupid? I just came in and you came to hit me. Are you crazy?" Little Black and Little White appeared. Little Black jumped out in the blink of an eye, and Han Fei also had 2 long knives in his hands. At the moment when the dragon-headed fish hit him, Han Fei leaned to the side and plunged a knife into the fish's head. With a slash, the dragon-headed fish was cut into 2 pieces. After chopping these 2 iron-headed fish, Han Fei jumped into the pile of rocks and saw a creature moving under the soil. When the underwater creature broke out of the soil, Han Fei's eyes widened when he saw its round lid-like skull and scissor-like tail. Horseshoe worm? Han Fei was speechless. This thing had a history of hundreds of millions of years, and the horseshoe worm he saw now was particularly large, at least 2 or 3 meters long. If there were horseshoe worms here, would there be trilobites? It was something that could be found in ancient fossils, of course. The data in Han Fei's eyes was different. Name three-eyed terror lobster. Introduction: a creature that has survived for countless years. It has a hard carapace, strong vitality, and super adaptability. It likes sand and will only hunt when needed. It is very loyal to its partner. The third eye has the ability to see through ordinary illusions. Level 30 quality, rare, contains spiritual energy greater than 2,432 points, edible effect, inedible collectible white eye stone, absorbable. Chapter 252. Then, more and more sand arched up, and many horseshoe beetles emerged. Unlike the first one, most of the horseshoe beetles that appeared later were a large horseshoe beetle with a smaller horseshoe beetle on its back. Han Fei knew that the larger one was female and the smaller one was male. This was why horseshoe beetles were very loyal to their partners. Once the male and female horseshoe beetles became a couple, they would be inseparable. However, Han Fei always felt that this kind of creature was scary, mainly because it looked a bit scary. Of course, this kind of creature was actually edible, either roasted or fried. However, eating too much of it didn't seem to be good for the human body. After all, it was poisonous. However, looking at these horseshoe beetles that were several meters long, Han Fei had no appetite. "I'll eat your sister? They look so scary. How can I eat them?" While Han Fei was observing these horseshoe beetles, there was a sudden fluctuation 100 meters away, and a young man suddenly appeared in the air. At this moment, a bubble suddenly popped up on Han Fei's side. Han Fei was stunned. "I didn't let out any air." The young man had just calmed down and was naturally taken aback when he saw a large number of bubbles popping up. But as soon as he looked over, another bubble popped up on the other side. Huh! Han Fei was also surprised. Didn't these bubbles come out from the sand? When Han Fei looked back, he saw a disc-like plant behind him, which was covered with dense little bubbles. Name: bubble algae. Introduction: unique seaweed of the fiery mountain, which can filter air from seawater. Level 7 quality, regular, spiritual energy greater than 82 points, edible effect, none collectible air, absorbable. Han Fei blinked his eyes. Could the seaweeds here have oxygen? Good heavens! No wonder no one worried about breathing when they came in. It turned out that there were a lot of bubble algae here. While Han Fei was thinking, a bubble algae popped out of the air in the open space not far away. The young man 100 meters away also secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Then, when he saw the horseshoe beetles that were gnawing on the iron-head fish on the quagmire, he immediately tensed up. Those horseshoe beetles were eating the fish, but the fish was thought to be killed. Without thinking, he suddenly waved the long sword on his back. However, would Han Fei give him a chance? "You didn't run at first, but now you want to run?" The young man felt that his feet were entangled by the fishing line and subconsciously waved his sword. However, when the sword slashed out, the fishing line seemed to have eyes and actually dodged it. The youth's expression suddenly changed, and spiritual energy immediately gushed out. But at this time, several blue sea wandering dragon daggers had been shot to his hilt. Buzz! The young man immediately fused with his spiritual beast, which was a green snake. Han Fei felt that the fishing line was loosened and the other party broke free. When the young man saw someone swimming over, he understood what was going on. In an instant, his giant tail swept over. Han Fei narrowed his eyes. Green snake eel? As expected, none of the students who could enter the top 100 of the academy were simple. In just a few seconds, the young man broke free from his fishing line. Puff, 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 dozens of blue sea wandering dragon daggers darted out instantly and cut the green snake's tail into pieces. The young man looked solemn. The moment the snake tail was shattered, The long sword in his hand carried a huge amount of spiritual energy and charged at Han Fei. Hey! Clang! The youth spat out a mouthful of blood. In a head-on battle, even Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renquang were no match for Han Fei, let alone him. Hand over your fiery mountain token and I'll spare your life. Han Fei stood quietly in front of the young man and stretched out a hand. Are you Han Fei from the 4th Academy? There were too few people in the 4th Academy. It was hard for the young man not to know him. The young man smiled dejectedly. While throwing out a fiery mountain token, he swam quickly. Han Fei curled his lips. I didn't say I was going to kill you. Why are you running so fast? Han Fei threw the fiery mountain token into Forge the Universe. Then, he swam unhurriedly to the hazy mountain. He was thinking, since this mountain is so conspicuous, will there be no opportunities? He didn't swim for long, probably less than 10,000 meters. Suddenly, Han Fei, who was swimming, made a weird dodging movement. And what passed by his body was a silver-white light. Is it not a human? Han Fei's face changed slightly. A fish that can become invisible? He stood still and was perceiving the nearby water. Immediately, he found 2 blurred figures swimming near him. Little Hay immediately leaped out. Invisibility might be useful for others, but it didn't matter to Little Black. It bit out a cloud of blood mist in the water very accurately. When one of them swam towards Han Fei cut through the seawater with the knife in his hand and cut off half of the invisible fish's body. However, the fish was still running. Running? You think too much. He took out his fishing rod and the hook was like a water vein, tying up the invisible fish in the blink of an eye. Han Fei cut the invisible fish's head. Only then did the fish reveal its true body. This was a fish with jelly-like, plain-colored scales. Name Phantom Fished Introduction. Turn the scales into water armor and attack the prey. At the moment of attack, the scales open and turn into sharp blades that can cut weapons below the mystic level. There is a phantom bead in the fish's head, which can strengthen the soul. Let's run first. In just a few minutes, he had been hit at least 1,000 times. Wasn't the million knife art fierce enough? Wasn't the 9-star chain strong enough? Mao Yong didn't face the dense phantom fish. Unless Han Fei really had 10,000 knives, he was still a piece of cake. At this moment, Han Fei's body was bleeding from dozens of places. Although he didn't bleed much, at least his defense was broken. No matter how small the wound was, it was still an injury. 8 or 10 wounds were nothing, but what about hundreds or thousands of wounds? While running, the 9-star chain was waving. Sometimes, like a long sword, it could pierce through 5 or 6 phantom fish at a time. But Han Fei also found one thing. Were the phantom fish too fast or was he too slow? He couldn't increase the distance. Is the wandering dragon art not fast enough?